and the stream is definitely not going to have a rolling power outage because our country is definitely not going through a winter hellscape.
Hopefully it'll be alright.
Alright, YouTube has said we are live and we are not blowing up. I guess I could actually say something so I can hear you.
What's up?
Oh, man, you're much louder than me. That's better. Perfect. I'm usually the way too loud one, so that's a good thing for once.
Got a new mic recently.
Alright, we are going to get started. Board Choco first in the chat, so you get all the brownie points. Alright, are you all good to go, Marsh?
Yeah, good to go.
Alright. How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network Link 205. I'm your host, Spencer Presley, and joining me on the marshy swamps of definitely not Florida is Marsh.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So, Marsh, you are someone who makes videos. I'm not saying that because I'm thinking of other titles. I was just talking about this yesterday. I hate the word YouTuber.
Yeah? I feel that.
It's like up there with gamer. Unless I'm making fun of it, I never want to hear the word. So
I totally feel that.
Let's say I'm your aunt, I'm your uncle. Don't know why I went to the opposite gender first. I'm a relative. We're sitting down. It's the holidays. I'm saying, hey, Marsh, buddy, old pal, what do you do on your YouTube? Like, what do you call it? How do you sell someone on who Marsh is?
How do I explain it? Alright, yeah. I guess it's kind of like taking people through games that maybe most people haven't played or they prefer not to. So like the early stuff that people are kind of afraid to get into because it's either too outdated or just archaic or they can't read Japanese. So I try to, I guess, bring that to the Western audience, show them what the older games are like.
Mm-hmm. So how long, for anyone out there who might not know, how long have you been doing your current like videos in like the format that you've been doing right now?
My channel has been, it's pretty new. It's been like 2 years, but I just started doing the reviews. It was last June during quarantine, so I got, really bored, stuck at home, and I just started playing stuff and talking about it, and it worked out.
I'm trying to think. So your first one, would that be SMT If, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Shrek Megami Tensei, you do not count as a review.
You've seen that one. That's funny.
I mean, it has Shrek and Megami Tensei in the title.
Yeah.
SEO-wise, that thing should be at the top of the list.
I love the video. Yeah, I started off with like the shitpost memes and stuff, but then I tried. I was like, I wonder what would happen if I did like I guess to preface this a little bit, I'd always heard people talk about Shin Megami Tensei If, and it was always really polarizing, like, oh, this sucks, never tried this. Or people would say, oh, this is an S tier game, you gotta play it. So I was like, okay, like what's really the story here? So played through it, talked about it, and a lot of people liked it, so I just kept going.
So, like, the funny thing about it is, I don't know if you ever looked this up, so I, in, like, totally not just fresh tab, no cookies or anything to, like, kind of sway the search history. Looking up your channel, the first video that comes up for whatever reason is if SMT4 was about politics.
The politics one, yep, that one got really popular for some reason.
And I just, I wonder, is it because it has politics in there? I can't understand why out of all of your videos, it's not like it's the highest view count. So it's just really weird of okay, well, why did this really pop up?
Don't know.
So then going more into your review videos, or at least in terms of, because you haven't been doing it that long, Mr. Humble Brag here of almost 20K. My favorite, I had a friend review my channel, as I mentioned before we went live. This is very much the YouTube channel where I post this podcast is always a personal thing of I literally did not start trying until last year, but I've had this thing since 2008. So, if you go back to, my earliest videos, it's, just PS3 direct rip uploads of me playing, Pain or Pixel Junk games. There's no rhyme or reason for many, many, many years. And it's just, and it's one of those things of, some channels be oh, I should get rid of that. That's, really bad. Or, that doesn't represent who I am. I'm I have videos on there that I definitely should get rid of, but I'm no, you gotta leave up the cringe. You gotta leave up the YouTube video of me filming myself watching Yu-Gi-Oh at 10 in the morning. That's part of the lore.
Keeps it authentic.
Yeah, exactly.
The lore. How the channel built itself up. Yeah. I've deleted a couple videos because of copyright and stuff like that kind of drag you down and make YouTube hate you a little bit. So that's pretty much the only reason I do it.
Really, really weird. I'm amazed I've still not pushed it. I thought I'd actually had the copyright cops on me after my last video I did, because I did a video like just a couple days ago talking about the Strikers DLC, and one of them is literally just music from the different games from Revelations to 5. And I was like,
Right.
oh, I'll show it off, because like there's not a lot of footage of that DLC out there, and I was like, oh, I'll show it off, and like literally half the footage is of me playing with those songs playing in the background. And I was like, how has this not been copyright claimed? Like, it's literally just like all of these different like licensing holders, but like maybe I just, because it has all of the like wham bam thank you ma'am sound effects of Strikers in the background, like no one can really tell.
They couldn't pick it up somehow or something. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. One of mine got copyright striked was the Digital Devil Story review. It's like blocked in a few countries or something, and none of the other ones ever got one. I don't know why that one did.
That one I'll at least give, because that one has a lot of other companies who licensed out that OVA and stuff.
Right, yeah,
So
like
like
the anime and stuff.
that one is kind of been passed around a lot, so like that one makes more sense. Whereas like sometimes like, are you gonna get Sony Universal, or like what random like thing for, or oh god, what is it, like the Play, the one company who literally now is just the Atlus music copyright police. Think, oh, Nextone. For like for the longest time, like I was like, oh, I'll do a video on Nextone. That'll be really interesting. And the more research I did on them, it's like literally, unless you enjoy copyright law and are a big loser like me, I was like, no, this actually isn't like that. It's just like it's interesting that Nextone is big enough, or their contract is whatever, like I don't know, maybe there's blackmail at Atlus, but like Nextone is literally, for anyone out there who's listening who doesn't know, is literally a Japanese licensing company who goes and looks for companies, who looks for other people using Atlus's music so that they can get the money from it. That's literally all Nextone does.
Really?
And they're on the box.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, it's like the weirdest thing. Like they have proprietary like software for like picking it up, like, so I'm guessing it's their algorithm and whatnot. And I mean it makes sense as well. Like if you look at like especially the Japanese releases, I always thought it would be funny if like, you know, when a new game comes out and there's always the Atlus like pre-game warning of like, hey, if you stream this,
no streaming, yeah,
you're going to streamer hell. Like we're gonna
jail.
Yeah, we're gonna send you to the Justin TV archives or whatever. So it's like I always thought it'd be funny if like they ever like tried that in America, but like, see, it's really funny. Like half of me wants to be like, oh, Atlas West is smart enough for that, but then I also remember when they released Persona 5, like they did it, but they never told anyone they were going to be strict about streaming. And so like, do you remember like when a couple of months into P5 being out, and it was like, hey, even if you're streaming on your own, like not native like PS5 streaming, like even if you're streaming past like this point in the story, like we have the right to just take you down.
I do remember that. A lot of people are really mad about that. Yeah.
There's a very, very poorly written blog post still up on the Atlus website explaining that situation. I found it recently when I was doing research for another video, and it's like, man, it's so like you could tell the person writing this knew they were in the wrong, but like they had like
they had to do it anyway.
Yeah, they just had the gun of someone in legal having to like press behind their back, be like, you better say this.
This ain't the nicest way possible. Yeah, that's never easy, I would imagine.
So, going back a little bit for your channel, and you know what, actually, let's put a pin in the channel thing. I guess if anyone out there is curious, because we were talking about this before, and you got to share this amazing story. So, I know how you get started, but if people out there who maybe they know you for the first time, or this is the millionth time they've heard of you, how did Marsh get into the wonderful world of Atlus video games?
Yeah, okay, I love the story. All right, I'll add a little bit more detail to this part of it. So I was in GameStop like 2013 or something, looking for a fighting game I want to play. I really like BlazBlue today, and I was looking for a BlazBlue game, and they didn't have anything. So I saw Persona 4 Arena on the Xbox 360. I was like, that's it. That's the game I'm gonna play. And so I took it home and played, the shit out of that. And 7 years later, or 8 years later, played a ton of games from there. But it was really weird starting from Arena because I had no context for anything at all.
And Arena's such a weird one I'm jumping into because, like, obviously playability, like, it's super, super fun. Like, it's, like, one of my favorite Arc System games ever. But, like, were you already pretty big into Arc System's other games, or was it mainly just, like, your admiration of BlazBlue?
I really I'd played BlazBlue on, like, one of them on the Vita, I think. And I loved that game. And I was trying to find some, oddly enough, on 360 because I had a 360. So I was seeing what I could get on there. And there was Arena. Never heard of Persona, didn't know what it was, but it just looked similar. So I tried it out and really loved it.
So this is coming from someone who actually really loves Arena and Ultimax. Not only did you not have any context for the story, they're told very badly. Like, they're very overly explained visual novels for the story mode. So, like, for you,
Oh yeah.
did you even like try, or was it just skip until you get to the gameplay?
I played a lot of the story actually. I did almost every route. I was like really interested in it because I didn't really know what they were talking about. They were referencing old things, but I was just kind of interested in like where it was going because I don't know. Like some of the stories on there were really neat. Like the Elizabeth one was really unique.
Yeah,
The
like
Labrys one was really unique. Yeah.
the way they go about the stories are really really great. It's just like, and Arc System Works has just always had this problem, in my opinion, of like they have a good nugget for story, except they make
Yeah.
that nugget into a piece of chewing gum and they stretch it across 4 states, and that's what, like, because they need to pad it out. Of like, if you
Really long story.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you like if they had an editor at Arc System Works and they, like, I mean, I shouldn't even say if. Like, a great example is there's a Arena and an Ultimax manga. Amazing. It takes the exact same story. You have some creative liberties, but like those mangas are like the best way to experience it. It's like kind of similar with If, of like people are like there, whether you love or hate If in terms of if you played it or not, like its story can be kind of messy sometimes. One of the nice things about it is it has a really really nice manga adaptation. The only problem, similar with the Arena ones, is they never got officially translated.
Right, yeah, it's a shame. I did like the story, and then I played Ultimax right after that. So this was before I got into like actually playing a Persona game. I was super excited for Ultimax. It was like what, like the next year, I think.
Yeah,
I was just
2014.
a huge fan of the Arena, and then after I beat that one, I was like, all right, we actually got to play now. So I tried Persona 4, Persona 3, and then I went on to like SMT4 and Nocturne, and then from there, I guess it's like history, everything.
Okay, so I got to do the obligatory Spencer question. What version of 3 and 4 did you play?
I played Vanilla 4 and Fest for 3.
So you had a Vita, but you still said, no, I need to play the worst version of this game.
I did, yeah. I wanted to see what it was like. I found that on Amazon for $20. I was like, all right, here we go.
I mean, I get it, because like I like having all the different versions, as like it's cool to compare, but there are definitely some that are like, hey, you don't need to double dip, or like you don't need to like waste your time like playing it, which like I always find really funny how people get like really like mad by it. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, you're triggered or whatever, but like I remember when I made a video describing how Persona 5 Vanilla is useless compared to Royal. Like, it amazes me how much that still makes people, like, upset. Of, like, I'm not saying this because I'm elitist or a gatekeeper. Like, literally,
Oh, no.
I'm saving you another playthrough of a game. You're not going to
Yeah.
Like, no one is going to roll credits on 5 and go, I better do that all
Yep,
over
time for
again.
Royal. Do it again.
Like,
No
this
way.
it's not the answer, guys. You're not rolling up and starting the new thing from like a brand new disc. Like, you gotta immediately do that. But like,
Right.
another example, like this one's definitely never contested, but like you never would see anyone defending this. Devil Survivor on 3DS. If you have those 3DS games, you never need to play Devil Survivor on DS.
Right, yeah, yeah.
So, hold on. So you said vanilla version for 3 as well?
It was Fest.
Oh, okay. So fast for that. Okay, that's
Yeah.
that's another one as well. It's like, imagine someone being like, "Hey, I'm gonna play Vanilla P3 and then do fast."
That'd be crazy. Yeah, like what's the point?
I love this fandom, but I hate my free time. I have no respect for my own personal life or belonging.
Just do it all over again. I have a vanilla copy. I just never played it. It's a Japanese copy though.
Well, of course, it's the only version of P3 with good box art.
It does look pretty good. Oh, yeah.
Apologies, actually. Koei, shoutouts to what we were talking about earlier. Koei did publish Persona 3 in Europe, and that has an amazing box art. That's the like lineup of them, like on the Seas members on the left and the enemies on the right. It looks really, really clean.
Oh yeah, that one's really cool.
Man, I would love to like meet bad. Because we were, as I'm like doing this video with a very very terrible thumbnail I made, but I love like I have like the weirdest like graphic design interviews that I always want to set up. Like, I spent legitimately way too much time last year trying to hunt down the guy who made featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Because
The guy who made it. Is that
because
even
like,
possible?
well, because I know the company it came from. Everyone always thinks it's on every copy, but it's only on Lucifer's Call. And what's really, like, okay, so this is like a weird little tangent, but like most people, like, it's like the Mandela effect of they know the meme and they just assume it was on every copy of Nocturne. But
Yeah.
literally, that meme was only on the European copies of Lucifer's Call. It was never on Nocturne.
I was gonna
And
say I swear it's on my copy, but you're telling me it's not.
but like the best part about it was, and this is like just the most Spencer or like comic book guy moment ever. Of I got so mad last year when, do you remember when Dante got re-announced for Nocturne Remastered as DLC?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then the next day, Atlas West posted the meme featuring Dante image, and that's all they did. And they posted that saying, like, hey, we're confirming he's coming to the Western version too. And I immediately got so mad because I was like, hey, that's our joke. You didn't make that image. That's not an Atlas thing. That was
Stealing our joke.
yeah, that was a Ghostlight Games. That was the publisher who came up with that. And I remember I was talking to them last year. I'm like, hey, we think we know who it is, but it's been so long since Nocturne got released over there that they just couldn't like line it up. It was like a handful of different people who all aren't at the company anymore.
Yeah.
But it would just be one of those things because like whoever made that has no idea that it's a meme.
It's like this huge thing. You're probably right. It'd be crazy to talk to that person. I never even thought about like who made the little logo. My
And
mind's just blown right now. That's not even on my copy. They're like, I want to go look at it.
hey, thanks for the super chat, David. Also, apologies for everybody I'm ignoring in the live chat, but I love you all equally still too. David says, "Hey Spencer, can't wait to listen to this one. Can't watch live. Oh, that's what the $5 is for." So thank you, David, so much for the super chat. But yeah, like other weird ones. In this one, I know who it is. I'm just trying to convince them to come on the show because they are too embarrassed to talk about this subject. I know
Really?
who did the graphic design on Vanilla and I guess Fez box art in the West for Persona 3, and they hate that they made it.
They don't want to come on the show. That's crazy.
Well, because like it's like the laziest box art an Atlas game has ever done. It's like, hey, let's take these PNGs, put a couple of lines down, and just basically do autofill in for like the color purple or white. Like it's like just
Yeah.
one of the laziest, worst things ever. But like for whatever reason, marketing told them like, no, it's gonna stand out. Like they're gonna see
This
that.
is good. Yeah.
And like I've joked about this with them, but like I'm 99% sure it's because they went, no, literally every other version screams this is a game about people shooting them in the head.
Probably. I wonder what that guy. People love to hear that story. I guarantee you, that guy's got to come on.
But like the other funny one as well is this is like PR stories I wish I could have had, but have definitely kind of been lost to time. Talking to old Atlus PR back then, they were like shitting themselves with Persona 3. They legit thought they were going to be on Fox News because it involved like guns and stuff. And
Really?
through the entire history from now, and I know it's still never even changed, they have never had one like complaint or controversy about that game, whether it be in Japan, Europe, or America. No one has
That's
ever
kind of
actually
crazy.
tried making a, because like it would be pretty easy. Like if we can make a controversy out of Miranda's ass from like Mass Effect 2, I feel like
Oh yeah.
this should be like taking candy from a baby.
It'd be really easy. Yeah, just one post. Somebody, I guess nobody's parents ever found the game or something like that. You know, nobody ever had it as a kid.
I
have
know,
no
like,
idea.
and that's like the weird because like I definitely had that mom. I had that mom that if like she knew it would have happened, like I will never forget like the most heartbreaking like I got a game taken away from me for the most like BS reason. It wasn't like I was playing GTA. Like I definitely was as like way too young of a kid. But the funny thing,
Oh yeah.
the funny one I'll always remember is Maximo for the PS2. Do you remember this game?
I think I've heard of it.
So like it's like a weird kind of soft reboot for the Ghosts and Goblins franchise on PS2.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And literally, I was describing the plot the next day after we bought it at the like breakfast table, and I was so excited explaining, "Oh, it's really great. You play as this hero. His name's Maximo, and like his girlfriend died, so he sells his soul to Satan." Immediately, full stop. My mom was like,
Taken away.
"No, we're turning it. No Satan work in this house."
Man, that's rough.
Oh my god, two super chats in one day. Dimmy Crow, thank you so much, says, hope a font mod is made because that font in P5S sucks. Oh man, okay. I'm curious how you feel with it. I don't want to jump into this too much, but as I mentioned, I care way too much about graphic design for someone who's too bad at it.
Yeah.
What are your
nothing wrong with
thoughts on like in-game fonts? Because there are definitely like sometimes where font changes are made where like I get it, it's not a big deal, but then there are some to me that offend me on a spiritual level. Like what is your take on this?
They're saying the font looks bad, and I don't think I've seen it. Do you
No,
have like a
I mean,
picture?
not even just specifically Scramble. I can. Oh no, I have the perfect picture. There's actually a really really good picture. Sophie's shop is actually like hot garbage. Like if you look at it, it looks like it went through Google Translate with like the photo mode. I
Oh,
will.
this. Yeah, I see it. Never mind, I found it. Yeah, this doesn't look so good.
No, it looks very bad. I was actually trying to think of a better example, but no, the Sophie Shop one is perfect. It's like, wait, why is this all caps and then other stuff not all
It
caps?
looks like a PowerPoint theme or something really weird, you know?
I mean, for a game that took over like 500 days to get announced, you think they would have put a little more TLC into working on it.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
But
I mean, I'm excited for this game, but yeah, hopefully. Did you say earlier that the PC version was like the worst one? Did you say something about that? Because that's why I'm buying it, so I'd be interested in knowing about that.
PC is actually gonna be the most leg up version of it. I think the worst version, like obviously if you're just doing text wise, it's gonna be like Switch or whatever. But there's an argument for all of them. But assuming like the only thing you're going to be losing out is this. Like, what kind of hard drive do you have?
I have an SSD. I don't know
Okay.
exactly what it's called.
So like an SSD, your loads are gonna be like maybe 2 to 4 seconds. It's going to be pretty good. No matter what settings you run it on, loads are going to be okay, but you're definitely going to have those 2 to 4 seconds. The only like leg up with it, why I love playing it on my PS5, is literally because the NVMe drive is so stupid fast. The PS5 version has like no load, so it's just pop and you're in, pop and you're in. So, like, hilariously, the PS5 has the best version, even though it's just running backwards compat. But no, Steam is totally fine. It's going to look great. It's going to play on whatever. Like, I think a lot of people are going to be pleasantly surprised with it. It's not, like, super, super demanding, but thankfully, Koei Tecmo didn't always have, like, the best luck with previous, like, PC ports, so this one should be fine.
Cool, it's good to know. I'm really excited for it. I'm probably not going to talk about it like on my channel just because it's not geared towards like newer stuff, but I'm definitely going to be playing that like in the meantime. It's as like a break from like the kind of first person dungeon crawling. It's going to be something really nice, just mash buttons and maybe not think so much.
Oh yeah, and I mean this is like the way I've always sold strikers or scramble to people, and like one of my favorite things, and I really really can't wait for everyone to get their hands on it, is I'm very excited for people to experience what is, like, just full stop, it's the best non-mainline game they've ever done. It has the best balance of gameplay and story, it's actually canon, and it, like, doesn't ever feel like it never feels half-assed. It's like, it is like, I think it took me, like, 45 hours to beat. Like, it is a long story if you want it to be a story, but, like, also if you just want to have an action game, you can just mash through everything.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited for that. You said it's 45 hours. I wouldn't have figured that. I wasn't sure exactly. I've been keeping like really, really out of the way of like videos on YouTube where they show the cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm avoiding everything.
I was gonna say, very glad you bring that up because, like, and I got into this last week when we were talking about reviews, but like, it's gotten way worse. Of like, literally, when the review embargo went up, I don't know if have you found this like that much, but there are like, it's like someone flipped a switch over at YouTube and everyone was like, "Oh, cool, I'm gonna post the whole game."
The whole screen, like this cutscenes or whatever. Yeah, no, I don't want to see that. It's
Like
too early.
it's just like so weird because like, usually that's a problem when a release happens, but like this is like a new level of like, man, I really like actively hate this. But like
Oh yeah.
like I think I actually kind of came up with this. Do you know who like? Oh my god, I always forget his name, which is funny because he banned me. I think his name is Jamie is Cool. He like did that Persona ranking thing on Twitter last year.
I do think I've seen his channel before. Yeah.
Okay, so I've already buried the lead. Well, not buried it. I've already shown you the lead immediately, Freddy Freeze. So I am blocked. I am blocked by him on Twitter. I found out, which is really funny because I don't follow him and I didn't even add him. He's just apparently searching out any criticism. So that's always a good sign of someone with very thick skin when not mentioning, not retweeting, not.
He found you.
He found me because he posted on Twitter one of the late scenes, like, and even though it was a jokey scene, it was still a scene of Ryuji like saying something, and I immediately like replied, well, not replied to it, I screenshotted it, covered it up, and went, hey, there's a couple of rules here, and like what the main point of the tweet was this rule: if the game's not out yet, don't tweet about it. Like, don't be posting it, because like Twitter doesn't have a play button. Twitter is just you're scrolling by and it's going.
It just
like,
starts playing. It's like, oh shit, please stop. I don't want to see this.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know what side of history you can be on to think that I have the wrong opinion there, but I think it should be pretty easy to say if a game's not out yet, don't spoil people on it, because I mean, there's always those people out there who are like, oh, it's not a spoiler, it's just a dumb scene, it's just a 2-second clip. But it's like, everything is a spoiler to somebody. Like,
yeah,
everything.
like where do you draw the line with that exactly?
So yeah, I absolutely despise how it's happened, because like, also going back to like the Atlus police, boy, they have been fucking sleeping at their jobs. Like, not a single one of those videos have been taken down. And like,
and now they're all still up.
I've seen the review embargo for Scramble. Like, Scramble's thing specifically says if you post anything after the first boss fight, like, that has to wait till Friday, like this Friday, and nobody listened to it.
There's a bad thing with Royal. I remember when Royal came out, I was like, there would literally be videos on like all like final boss. Like, are you serious? Like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, even the other side of the argument of people will be like, oh, it's been in Japan forever, dude. Doesn't matter.
Like yeah, but we can't play it, so.
It's like, listen, buddy, it's in Moon Runes to me. It might as well be a Seinfeld sketch. I don't know what it is.
I'm studying Japanese, and I'm not that good yet. You know, Persona's tough. It's like a lot of dialogue. It would take me a long time to get through it. So
that was actually the funny thing of Scramble, because I did import Scramble last year in Japan, so I do actually know the spoilers for it. But what was funny about that is, even with my 2 years of Japanese, like, so basically, I can understand text, I can hold a verbal conversation with an infant, and that's about it. Don't ever ask me to write it, Jesus. Any of my handwriting in Japanese is like an actual, like, I think it breaks a couple Geneva Convention Accords or whatever.
Probably for me too.
It's really, really bad, but I can dumb gaijin myself way through a game, especially like an action RPG, and even a couple like menu-based ones. Atlus games are like the easiest though. Like, you probably have noticed this with a lot of the newer stuff, of like stuff like Catherine is basically already half translated in English. All the menus are all in English.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. It's even like that in the 80s games too, where like the menus and certain they'll be in English. I don't know why that is. I never got an answer for why they do that. So, but there's a lot of shit like that where it's in English.
Literally, the reason is this, because there's a couple of other old school games that do this. It's because in Japan, especially with game devs of the time, like older game devs, they think it's cool. Like, it looks cooler
really?
to put in.
That was actually my guess.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Because this is like the thing of, like, you know how sometimes you'll be listening to J-pop or K-pop if you're a big fucking weeb like me? So, like, you know how sometimes you'll be listening to a song where someone who clearly doesn't speak English, there's a couple of lines in English?
Yeah.
It's because they think it sounds cool is why it's in there. So the same ruling theory is why a lot of these older RPGs and even current Japanese games use so much English. They have no... Like, trust me, not a single developer at Atlus Japan has ever given half of a fuck about someone who doesn't speak Japanese. They don't care about how we're accepting it. It's literally just for their demographic, and they're like, oh, no, that looks cool. Leave that in there. That's cool.
Leave it in, yeah. It does it all the way back in the first Megami Tensei. There's like the comp and like the moon cycles, and even like the password screen, and everything's in English. And it's like the only guess I had for it was like, maybe since it's based around like computers, like Digital Devil, like, oh, I don't know, maybe they thought computer stuff should be in English. I don't know. It's interesting. They thought it was cool. I didn't know that.
Okay, another thing, actually, this is a dumb one that, like, it may either be known or not, but people don't ever talk about this one that much. DDS specifically, the reason DDS has moon alignment stuff in English, they couldn't fit the katakana or hiragana or kanji symbols in the memory limitation. The only thing they could fit, the only thing they could fit in literally was just putting it moon.
It just says moon. Yeah, I was like, what's up with that? Because I would have never figured that out.
Yeah, so anything else would have either been breaking the memory or led to like more sprite flickering and stuff for us. They're like, whatever. People can read 4-letter words. We're good. Let's go.
That's really interesting. Yeah, had no idea.
Boy, man, like from strikers to a bad game font size for it. But yeah, so. It's one of those like weird ones of like it's always funny for me of like things that kind of like stick out for it, but yeah, like I guess ending the little thing I have to say about like spoilers for it, it's like my rule of thumb for it is always this: always assume somebody has never played whatever, unless like you're doing something like a spoiler cast or whatever. Like leave things like for the spoiler chat for like the first year or so. Like if you walk into someone's like Discord or chat or Twitter and you see something about like, oh my god, like a great example is Kasumi. Kasumi, and I'm not going to spoil anything for this, but like, have you beaten Royal?
I haven't. Nope.
Okay, fantastic. So then this will work for you. There is a hilarious giant spoiler about Kasumi if you Google search her.
Really? I
Yes.
guess I won't do it
But
then.
if you never Google search it, as I never did, it's fine. But it was funny because what happened was after I beat the game, I was looking up art for her, and literally the first thing that came up was just a immediate spoiler for the end of the game. And I'm like, huh. So
That's
no
kind of
one,
crazy.
so like no one ever like tried to fix it because like it makes sense what the whole situation is behind it, but it's just one of those things that if you don't search it out, it's never gonna happen. But it's literally in your face at all
It's
times.
right there. Yeah.
So like just like stuff like that is always really really funny for me. Going back though for you in terms of like other games you started with, so you mentioned after playing 3 and 4 it was kind of just like hog wild from there. Have you now gotten to the point where have you pretty much played all the majorly available stuff that you've wanted to play, or like what's like your next big one where you're like, oh dude, I really need to play this next?
I'm still working on it. Actually, I'm playing SMT1 right now. That's my next video. I haven't played 1. That's another weird story. I started with If for like those SNES titles. I started with If. Pretty stupid because I think it's a spin-off, of those two, SMT1 and 2. So
So
that's my biggest one for sure.
so I gonna have to ask Dylan Spencer a question because I know it doesn't really matter. What version of one are you playing? Because there are so many.
All right, no, this is cool. I'm doing all of them for my video. It's gonna be every single one of them.
Perfect. Okay, have you touched the Sega CD version yet?
I haven't played it yet, but I
It
definitely
is-
plan to.
It is my favorite. Like I've been meaning to do this for a long time. This is another one of those videos where I know desperately sounds way cooler in my head than others. But like the Sega CD version of SMT1 is like the most nostalgia porn version for me. Of like I love the Sega CD because I was like a '90s kid. I love the Sega CD. I think the soundtrack like arrangement sounds the best by far. Some of the sprite work can obviously be like a little iffy, and the load times definitely suck. But like something about that, man. Like also its cover is like so 90s Sega RPG art.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's just like it ticks so many little dumb boxes for me. And then at the end of the day, it really sucks because it's like, oh, and it's only in Japanese. Because, like, unless I'm wrong,
True.
the only fully translated version we have is the Super Nintendo one, right?
It's that in the iOS. Yeah.
Well, yeah, which is basically the GBA one, which is a port of the SNES one, and I hate that version
It's
so
just
much.
confusion. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Also, just because, like, in my opinion, like, I think the GBA version, like, looks and sounds the worst just because it is so compressed.
Oh, for sure. I agree. Yeah.
So for
I'm
you,
interested in sorry, I was gonna say I was interested in the PC Engine one if you know anything about that. I'm
no,
not sure.
yeah, PC Engine one's great. PC Engine one is like, so I have this little like weird theory of, do you know what Sega Ages is?
Ah, shoot. I think so. Let me check it out. I'm pretty sure I know what it is.
So
Engine.
Sega Ages is this thing developed by M2 where it's like, hey, we're going to pick these legacy Sega titles and make the best version possible by basically making
okay.
a brand new one. So like, let's say it's Sonic like the one they did for Sonic 1. It has like the drop spin from Sonic Mania. It has all of the soundtrack variations. It has all this unused art. It has all these different things fit in there and blah blah blah. Like I want a Sega Ages for SMT1 so bad where it's just
That'd be awesome.
it is the main game, but it has a filter switch of I want to play the PC Engine version graphically. I want the Sega CD soundtrack, and I want like the multiplayer from the GBA version. Like it like have like
Yeah.
be able to like basically just make like back when people were doing like really cool like HD collections of like give us all the options because like these are not that graphically intensive games and like yes, quality of life changes in English scripts are nice, but like to bring people in there and make a version that's like, hey, it's every version. Like stuff like the Street Fighter 30th anniversary one I loved. It's like,
Oh,
yes, it's like 16 games, but it's really like 4 games, but like include every variation of Street Fighter 2. That's cool to have. Are you really going to play them all? Of course not, but it's just
Maybe
really
not, yeah.
but it's nice to have there as an option cuz like for someone like you and me, if we want to play these, like you have to jump through so many hoops without even getting to the like wall for some people of it's only in Japanese. Like I wish the fact that they're only in Japanese was the biggest hurdle. Like you and me
Yeah.
are one of the 5 people in America who played 9. 9's biggest hurdle isn't the fact that it's in Japanese, it's that it's
not
on
that
the
it's in
Xbox.
Japanese. Yeah, that's definitely by far the reason I haven't like gone back to it more. Just like, how do you get one of those? I gotta spend money, order one from Japan. It's just a whole big problem, and the emulation's just rough. So yeah, definitely not the biggest problem with the Japanese.
Yeah, so like I think that they would just make such a killing with that, but I obviously know that's like they're definitely weird about ports. It's not a priority for them. And also, I don't know if you've ever had this, but like, even though people think SMT5 is coming out this year and Nocturne's coming out and all these other things, I've had all these conversations. People are like, "Oh, do you think they're going to do any more like SMT re-releases this year?" And I kind of have to like put people in check of like, I'm sure I sound like such a buzzkill, but it's like, guys, it's the 25th anniversary of Persona. I think it would look a little weird if they focused on SMT this year.
That's true. It's a good point. I do remember them saying they were looking towards like more Steam releases, but that might be Nocturne, but I'm not sure.
I mean, yeah, Nocturne is coming to Steam, full stop. I just broke the embargo. The voice acting's all done. The game is done. Spoiler, guys. It went through cert. Nocturne's in a really, really funny case. If that game was literally done before Scramble was announced in the West,
Really?
of like... I mean, because think about it, it had the least amount of work to do, even though the American version had the most work to do. All the voice acting was done last year. Biggest check out of the way there. Porting the games, they were already all done in Unity, so one version's not going to be that much different than the other. Oh, dang, what about all the English text? Oh, you mean that thing we just drag and drop for the PS2 emulation file?
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
I guess it's not that much work after all.
Yeah,
Really
it's like...
excited to play it, though.
Oh, I mean, I was literally just gushing with a friend of like, man, I don't even like... Because I played the Japanese version, but I specifically didn't import it, just because I was like, I still want to have that, like, playthrough feeling of it. Like, I tested it out to, like, get my grips on... Because one of the things I wanted to test with it was, all right, how does PS4 play? How does PS5 play? How does Switch play? And stuff like that. But it's been so... Like, literally, I don't think I've played Nocturne in, like, 13 years. Like, a full start-to-finish playthrough. It's just been so long, yeah. So it's like... Let's go, because I didn't play the PS3 re-release and stuff like that, so I think it'll be really, really fun in terms of talking about it again for new people getting their hands on it. Because, think about it, we haven't had a good SMT game release in a long time. Like, we haven't had a good SMT game in, like, 2016 with Apocalypse.
True. Yeah, because the last one was, what, Redux, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a re-release again. Yeah.
So yeah, Nocturne has me very, very excited, especially because like I'm really surprised of like some of the more casual people. Like legitimately, I know so many people who are like, "Oh, I just want to play it on Switch because like this is gonna be my first time," and I'm like, "Man, that's like so cool." Like I can't imagine. Like I already know Nocturne was a lot of people, especially in the West, first entry into SMT, but like
Right.
I would love it. Like, I would love to, like, just see this, like, swell of people being like, oh, man, this game fucks. And I'll be like, yes, it does! This game does fuck!
Yeah, that'd be sick. It's gonna be really weird seeing it on Steam because, like, I don't know, like a year ago or 2 years ago, just basically any time before they announced it, it's like, can you imagine playing Nocturne on Steam? It's just gonna be weird seeing people launch it, like, now playing Nocturne on Steam.
Can you imagine playing Steam legally of the version of Nocturne?
It's just really weird.
I think the one that'll be really weird for me, and it still hasn't like really hit me because it's only ever been Persona games, is having a trophy list. Because I'm a really big trophy guy. Is like, whoa, having an SMT game with achievements, that's like weird. Because especially like, I don't know if you've looked at the achievement list for Nocturne. It's not terrible, thankfully, but like, in the early days of Atlus, when they were doing achievements, they were fucking mean. Like, some of their ones are like, hey, so... I want you to do everything that could possibly ever happen with RNG in like one run, and I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I thought it was like so funny of like when people like try and think of complaints for Royal, they're like, oh, dude, Royal is such a baby game. Everyone can platinum the game on their first playthrough. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, that's 80 hours. I don't care how
there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't care how easy that 80 hours was.
It's a lot of work.
Like, no one's ever been like, oh, like, you know what my favorite part of platinuming this game is? Having to play through it twice for one trophy.
Like, over and over again. Yeah, grinding out the last trophy. Yeah. No, I feel that.
Yeah, it's like get that stuff out of there. It's cool that it's there. Like, have secret bosses like that. Like, that's super, super fun. But like, you just want to like have those moments there of like, you don't want someone's last memory of a game to be, oh my god, okay, let's go. But like
that last grind. Yeah, yeah.
like you want to have cool moments of like, even if like a great example is this of like, do you remember the Thieves Den and Royal? I love that had harder achievements. Like, not trophies, that had, like, little medals and trophies you can unlock in-game. So that way, it's like, hey, there are harder things you can unlock. It's just not tied to the trophy list. But if you want to... But, like, if you want... There's a separation between 100%ing the game and getting the platinum, which I like.
Yeah, that sounds good for sure. You said the Nocturne one's not too bad. I looked at it a little bit. I don't really remember seeing anything super crazy, so I might try to platinum it. Usually I don't do that, but because it's on Steam and like the novelty of having trophies with it, I might try to do it.
It's gonna be a weird day when you're looking at your Steam library and you're like, oh my god, I have Nocturne trading
It's
cards.
Nocturne. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the cards too. That's gonna be crazy. Yeah.
Okay, so like I literally only ever use my PC for either podcast videos or like writing stuff. So I know nothing about because the last time I played a game on Steam, I think was Portal 2. Just to put this in perspective,
Really? Okay.
and the only reason I played that was because I got it free with my PS3 copy way, way, way back when. For anyone who remembers that, but like,
Nice.
what is the point of Steam trading cards? Is it like can you show them off? Are they just achievements with different pictures? What is the point?
It's kind of like this weird like little gimmick they do where if you collect all of them, then you can make a badge. You can put the badge on your profile. Everybody can see you have it. You
Huh?
can get like profile backgrounds if you collect a bunch of them and make a badge. You get like emoticons and stuff. So there's different stuff you can show people, display on your profile. I think that's basically the point. So for Nocturne, it'll be pretty sick because you can have like a official Steam Nocturne background. Like those are going to be really neat because they have those for Catherine and some of them are pretty nice looking.
Okay. Oh man, Catherine Classic.
Yeah.
Great game released at a bad time.
I just got somebody gifted me that yesterday, so I'm gonna have to play that for the
Really?
first time. I've never played it. Yeah,
What a weird
on
Valentine's Day
Valentine's
gift.
Day.
Was it just like out of the blue, or had they like told you to play it before?
They told me to play it like a couple days before, but yeah, yesterday was the day I got it, so I'm excited to try it out.
Is it? Would this be your first Catherine playthrough, or just on PC?
I've never played Catherine before. No,
Oh
this will
my
be first
god,
time. Yeah.
man, that really sucks. Cause like, shout out to whoever gave you that for free. But like, then do you have that thing in the back of your head that's like, I could be playing full body though?
I do want to try full body. So they said, play classic first. I don't know all the differences yet, but I might. It seems like a shortish game, so maybe I'd play it
Oh
twice.
yeah, it's like if you streamed it, you'd beat it in a weekend. It's very short.
Really? Okay,
Yeah,
that's good to know.
but the whole thing about Catherine is it has like 9 or 12 endings, so like it really doesn't matter whatever you go for.
There's definitely an incentive to play it again. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy though. Yeah, I definitely need to like make a spreadsheet with you at some point of just like what you have and haven't played because like you've played the very very hard like no not a lot of people even listening to this have played Devil Summoner like OG Devil Summoner.
The first Devil. Yeah,
By the way,
yeah.
actually for that one, did you play Saturn or PSP?
That was PSP. I did the script that's available online follows the PSP version, and I think the PSP version makes it a lot easier with like negotiations and stuff. So
Yes.
you don't have to mess around as much with the Japanese in that.
Double extra big shout out to the like 5 years Atlus remembered Devil Summoner as a series, and I loved that what they did to bring them back was cool. We're basically going to just keep the games as is, add a little bit of extra new arrangements and art, but they're basically the same game. And I was so here
Yeah.
for it. Like I will never forget like what because when I played Soul Hackers for the first time. It was in Japanese on I think the PS1 version. And I
Okay,
remember I
yeah.
was playing it. I was like, this fucks. It ticks all my vibes. I love the like aesthetic. I love the setting. It sounds awesome. I could not dummy way my through it. Like it was just so like especially text heavy and so
Oh yeah.
rudimentary. And at this point, I'm probably like it's be like 2005 or so. So like I'm probably like 13, 14. So I definitely couldn't like get my way through it and enjoy it. And then when that 3DS version came out, I just remember like losing my mind. Like that was one of those ports. Like Soul Hackers getting an English port. I kind of am a little like I'm sad that it's so rare now. Obviously, you can just download it on the eShop or whatever if you want the 3DS version. But like the fact
Right,
that
yeah.
like that got a Western release in English with voice acting and a boxed copy is like, man, that's so crazy.
It is crazy. I said that in my video for it. I was like, this is cool that they did this, but it's so weird that they skipped the first one considering how much it references
And
that one. Like, right?
I know, and it literally it's like extra frustrating too because Atlus was great at supporting the PSP, obviously until Eternal Punishment. But like Devil Summoner skipping like never made any sense. There was never any plans to release it. It's not like it almost happened. Just there was no initiative to do it, and maybe that was because SMT had really light sales. Because people have to remember, Nocturne did really well in retrospect for like an Atlus game back then, but that was very different numbers than like even Persona. Devil Summoner 1 and 2 were like good, but definitely by the time you got Raito 2, the sales were really bad. Like there's a reason for $50 you got that giant box with the Raito plushie.
The plushie, yeah.
Yeah, like they were begging you. Like I know that's like really rare now,
it.
but like I remember going to game stores at the time, and stores would always have like Raito 2. It was like, oh my god, we cannot sell this thing.
Yeah, I got mine for like $20 a few years ago, and it's crazy now how much it's worth. I was like, really? Are you sure?
Yeah, so like it definitely had a downward spiral. And remember, SMT4 straight up would not have come out as quickly as it did if it wasn't for Nintendo. Nintendo basically soft published that game. Similar to what they do with like Square Enix games, like how Square Enix never publishes games on Nintendo systems. They develop them, but if you notice in America, Nintendo always publishes Square Enix games.
Yeah.
I would love to meet like the one guy who works at Nintendo in America who's like, guys, we need to
publish this.
we gotta publish what is it? We gotta publish Dragon Quest, Bravely Default, and SMT5. Like these are our biggies. We gotta get these exclusive.
You guys onto something, yeah. It'd be crazy to talk to him.
Like I mean, always big shout out to like the people at NOA. Like say what you will about Nintendo in terms of how they make their stuff. Reminder, like I don't know, are you very much into Dragon Quest as a series?
Oh yeah, big fan.
Reminder how long we had to wait to get Dragon Quest 7 and 8 on 3DS.
Yeah, for sure.
Like 7 was a launch game on
for
3DS.
PS1.
No.
Right?
The 3DS version in Japan. I'm gonna pull this up. I'm gonna put because it was literally the people at Square Enix were like, hey. 7 sold like shit over here for the first time. Why would we? And 7 3DS adds so much. Like Square at least will be very like frank with you. They'll be like, "Hey, this is part of our history as a company. We love this. Blah blah blah. This game will not make us money. There's no way in hell we're gonna put this out."
Right? Yeah, it's not worth it.
And then they'll put out stuff like The Quiet Man and make us all wonder, "Why are you doing this to us?" Okay, put this into perspective, everybody. The 3DS version of Dragon Quest VII came out in February 2013. In North America, we had to wait 3.5 years.
I actually didn't know that it was a launch title there. I was like totally confused. I was really? I didn't know that at all. That's ridiculous.
That would be like actually a couple years after, but like either way, like 3.5 years.
That's a long time.
It's such a long time, and also you know that it didn't like sell well. Like the charts weren't blowing up for the North American version of it. And actually the cool part is like Nintendo straight up translated it themselves. So like Nintendo translated at Treehouse, not Square, Dragon Quest 7 and 8. And double shout out to, and I know people are weird about this game, but I'll always remember TMS, no matter how you feel about it, that game would not have happened without Nintendo.
Yeah. True.
Now,
Dragon Quest 7's got a huge ass script, right? It's like you ever see the picture? It's like the big thing.
And that's the PS1 script, and then they added more to the 3DS version. That's the craziest part.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like I'll never forget one of my favorite Atlus questions I ever got to ask when Atlus actually still talked to us on the podcast was literally like I think a few months after TMS launched on the Wii U, and I asked their PR manager and I said, "Okay, be honest with me. Now that it's out, if Nintendo like turned on the rights, because remember this did happen a couple of times, like the last story and Xenoblade actually almost didn't come out, of like Nintendo, especially during the Wii era, being a little bit more shy to some stuff if they thought it wasn't going to sell in the West, and they would pass on it, and then they would give it to another publisher. So whether you're Xseed or Marvelous or whatever, like another publisher could publish it. I asked him just straight up, I was like, hey, if Nintendo didn't publish Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which like is not that crazy of an idea. Like, that game, the fact that it has come out twice outside of Japan physically is already a miracle. But what's so funny about it for me is I asked him, like the guy in charge of PR at Atlus, and he was like, I legitimately could not imagine us publishing that game. And they made that game! I'm like,
they made it.
And I can't be mad at them. It's like, dude, yeah, no duh, the idle pop, like, Fire Emblem crossover game you might be a little like worried about publishing as a Wii U exclusive. So,
man.
2016 Nintendo, man, they were just on something different.
I guess so.
Wow,
That's crazy.
Just think about that. Within 3 months, this is what you got. You got In September, Dragon Quest 7, December TMS, and January Dragon Quest 8. Nintendo must have just been having like a fever dream.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now the
What
real
were they
question
on?
is this: how much money do we need to pay Microsoft for them to localize SMT9? You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They can't not like if you're Phil Spencer and you're a man who's literally paid money for some like this man will pay any amount of money to make anything happen. He has to know it would like there's no negative about this. Whether if 9 sucks, everyone hates it, it's a glitchy mess. If they just put English text into 9 and put it on an Xbox Series X, I'm telling you this right now because people are like me, they would buy it.
Oh yeah, people play it. Yeah. He's like, if you were like that rich, right? It's like, why not? Just fuck it. Like, let's just see what happens.
And let's be honest, SMT9 to translate that game, I guarantee you could get that game translated and published for under $1 million.
Oh yeah, I bet. I don't see they should try it. You're right about that. People joke, they're like, oh, they're gonna be coming out with the SMT9 remake. Oh, it's gonna come out next year. You'll see. But I never actually thought about it. Maybe they actually could do it.
I'm not kidding you, and I've never found proof that proves me wrong here. I have legitimately, I'm the guy who started beating that drum. I know people have joked about it. I know Gnarly's joked about it. I know people have brought it up, in your video. But,
yeah.
I've legitimately, just in my gut, something tells me that Phil Spencer will listen to this Spencer, and he will just be like, guys, let's just do it. It's like one of our it's like one of our only games, and nobody, and I mean nobody, at Atlus Japan gives half a fuck about it. I remember, that Leonardo DiCaprio meme of him from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with the beer in his hand, smoking the cigarette, pointing at the TV?
Yeah.
That was me during the Nocturne stream last year, where they had the timeline of Nocturne releases. Of the SMT timeline, and they included 9 on there.
They put 9 on it.
Holy shit! They showed the box. That's the most they've done in 20
they're
years.
Acknowledging that it exists. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's one of the weird things of especially as a PC gamer, I'd actually like to ask this because I assume you pretty much play all of your stuff, assuming you can, primarily on PC.
Yeah, most of it's on PC. I own most of the games unless it's something crazy like Jack Bros where it's really expensive.
Well, and also literally the best way to play Jack Bros is through a Virtual Boy emulator.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So this is one that I always surprised doesn't get this sentiment in question gets me so much backlash, and I'll never understand it. Name one negative factor that could come from Atlus being on Game Pass.
I'm not even sure. What would it be?
Just imagine, not even taking a dream game like 9 out of the equation. Let's just say if Strikers comes out and was on Game Pass, how huge would that be?
It'd get a lot of people into it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, people jizzed at the fact that it was coming to Steam. So imagine imagine then how much more people would freak out if it was also coming to Xbox and Steam for free if you have Game Pass.
You're saying people will disagree with you on that?
Oh my god, yeah, literally. Okay, so this is one of the biggest hypocrisies of I don't tout a lot of the community is toxic or whatever thing. I think for a large silent majority of fans, especially all my years of being around SMTN, nothing but positivity. The one thing that always confuses me so much is that everyone always wants the games on more platforms, except Xbox. If you bring it up as an Xbox game, you might as well have just said, "Can I fuck your mom while Phil Spencer watches?" And it's so confusing. It's why? What does it matter? Literally,
that'd be awesome. I think, right?
Yeah, it's have more players out there because I don't know. Maybe in their head they think that if it comes to Xbox before Switch, then hell is froze over or something. I don't know, but for me, and this is coming from someone again. I don't play on PC. I don't have an Xbox anymore. But, just make it more widely available. The best case point example, look at Yakuza. Yakuza on coming to Game Pass has been the best thing that happened to that series.
Gets a lot more people into it. I don't know what they would have against it unless it's just something against Xbox people. You don't want them playing your game or something. I don't know what it would be.
It's weird, reverse fanboyism. And, I'll never get it. Because, I love when games come to other systems. Even if I'm not going to play it. A good example for me Strikers on Switch. That I bought that for two reasons. One, I wanted the Steelbook, and I'm a very, very sad man. And two, I like the comparison. I don't like playing it. I like it in terms of like, oh, this is cool that it runs. I've got, oh
Right.
god, like, will I full playthrough Scramble? Like, not unless like I lost a bet or something. Like, no.
Lost a bet.
Well,
Yeah,
like,
I don't know. It's like it would get so much more people. Strikers, I think, would do great on Xbox. It's more action like oriented and stuff, and people are always like, "Oh, well, JRPGs don't work on Xbox." I don't know if that's true or not, but I think Strikers, like you said, that'd be a good fit.
especially as a Game Pass game, like
Yeah,
it's just one of those ones of like it's long. You're not going to burn out on it in a weekend. It is a AAA, if, at least feeling-ish game. Like it doesn't feel budget, but it also seems believable.
yeah,
There's no exclusivity contract this time, so go with it. I will say this, because obviously we know they're not going to do it with Strikers. It's way too close to happening. If they did it with Nocturne, because theoretically there's nothing stopping Nocturne from coming to... Because like by the time you're on PC or PS4, an Xbox version is literally just a couple of days' work. Like they're
yeah.
not that much graphically harder. So like let's say Nocturne was a Game Pass game. Which, boy, now that I've said that out loud, would make me so happy.
It'd be awesome. I think it'd be pretty sick to see. I mean, you could follow in the wake of Yakuza 7. I think it'd do well.
And I think Yakuza 7 is a good case of that's literally the only one that's not on Game Pass right now. But like
Yeah.
no one complained about it not being on Game Pass because at that point, by the time Yakuza 7 finally came out in the West, you could play 0 through 2 Kiwami all for free on Game Pass. And 7
Yeah.
was a fresh start, so it was like, oh cool, let's go with it. So let's think about it like this of Nocturne would be the first time an SMT game had come out in English on PC and Xbox in the West. I hope it would at least show them because like the articles that like I don't know how often you ever follow the news. I with a vehement hatred, Marsh. I hate when I see the Atlus reporting's earnings talks and they're like, you know what? We're surprised by how good these re-releases are. We might do some more of these.
Oh yeah.
Like,
People
it's
really
like,
want them. Are always talking about it.
it's like, dude, what do you mean? That's like saying, good news, guys. Water, pretty good. It's like, yes, literally. Why would it
Like,
not
yeah,
be?
they're doing good. Yeah.
Like the only time they had a PC release like suck shit in terms of sales was literally Catherine, and again goes back to the whole point that the dum dums in charge. Well, okay, not the dum dums in charge. The dum dums in America made that port happen because they begged Japan. They're like, okay, fine, we'll give you this old 360 build. There you go, go put it on PC. And there was no communication with the West, and that's why it released a month before the Japanese version, a full body. So
yeah, I
like,
remember when it came out, it was right before Full Body, so I was like, which one should I get? So it's kind of a bad move on their part, yeah.
it's like the funniest part was like, especially me at the time, it was like, okay, Catherine just came to PC. That's good. But Catherine's also coming to the Vita next month in Japan. That's better. But it's also only in Japanese. That's bad. Shoutouts to, by the way, if you enjoy weird ports and you've not checked it out, please, everybody listening to this, please check out the Vita port of Catherine. It is, hands down, I always tell people this, it is my favorite port of the entire game. Like, all systems
I'll have to check
included.
it out for sure. I didn't even actually know there was a Vita port.
Of course you wouldn't. They didn't release it in America. And when asked why, they said, I don't know.
I don't know. I'll have to check that one out. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorites too for a couple of different reasons because of like it looks as good as the PS3 version, which is not that hard to do for a puzzle game on the Vita. It still runs at the same frame rate as PC and PS4, and has like the only thing you can't do with it easy is local multiplayer. Like you still need 2 Vitas for that. But like if you want to play online, it's the only version with free online because PS4 and Switch you have to pay for the online there.
True, yeah.
Yeah, so little weird things like that for it. I again have absolutely no idea how we got to this point. So you're just enjoying like the fastest and loosest episode of this March. How are you holding up so far though?
Totally cool with me. Yeah, I'm down to talk about anything.
Okay, so just to like give me a little bit of a drink break and give you more time to talk, because I feel like I am 1000% just like stealing the entire conversation.
Oh no,
What
you're
do you-
fine.
Besides SMT1 on every platform known to man, what are you playing recently? It doesn't have to be Atlas really. It can just be whatever you're playing right now.
You know, this is gonna be crazy. Gonna catch a lot of shit for this. I was playing fucking Fortnite with another SMT streamer.
Excuse
Fortnite
me.
of all things. Yeah.
No. Excuse me. Why would that catch you shit? We play Fortnite in this
Everybody
house.
shits on Fortnite, man. I'm like, it's not that bad.
Not here,
it's
man.
not that bad.
Fortnite, this is a weird comparison. I hope this makes sense to people out there. Fortnite is PlayStation home for the new generation. It's just a cool place to hang around and shoot the shit with your friends.
Yeah, you just talk to people and just kind of mess around a little bit. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I've got to know now, who are you playing with? Because everyone else I always try and get to play Fortnite with, it's like pulling teeth out. You think I'm asking them to go to church?
The streamer, she's Sergeant Claire Bear, and I played with actually Simply Dad before.
Simply Dad, I'm not sure if he is playing Fortnite ironically, or if he is playing it just because Ellis Mark might be Venmoing him to play it. I like to imagine it's both. I like to imagine it's both. Shout out,
pretty damn good.
Shout out, by the way, to Simply Dad having the most Simply Dad name on Fortnite of just Majin Tensei 2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
so
man.
Funny.
We gotta pick Majin Tensei 2 because you know the first one's probably taken, so you gotta pick the sequel.
You gotta do 2, yeah.
Oh my god. Shout out to Majin Tensei for the game that makes the most sense for coming out, but somehow never has been ported. Ever.
Exactly, yeah.
Unless I'm totally missing it. You have not done the Majin Tensei experience yet, have you?
I have not, but I plan to do it for sure. Yeah, somewhere down the line.
So, whether... Just like... I'm just very, very curious. So, give me your blind... tweet-long description. What do you know of Majin Tensei? Because this is one of those weird ones of, I always like hearing what people think about it, because there are so many different comparisons that come to people's heads when they play it, or just know about it.
I've seen just a little bit. I've watched streamer Filthy Blasphemer did Majin Monday. He would play it every Monday. It looks interesting. It just looks really slow. Very, very slow. Like a long game. So when I get around to that, it's going to take me probably months to get through. I think it has 65 maps or something. So it looks cool. It got some cool art, but very slow.
Now imagine that game without save states or fast forward.
Yeah. Is that the first one?
Well, no, I mean, because most people who play it will be playing it in whatever SNES.
Oh, on real hardware.
Yeah, imagine playing that on real ass hardware, and you just gotta mash through everything.
Oh, that'd be rough. I bet you. I mean, I guess some people have done it, but yeah, I don't want to do it.
It's the gameplay is fun, the story is interesting. Like you said, the art's great, the music's really, really underrated. But man, that game goes out of its way to be unfun to play. In the weirdest ways. But it also goes back to it of hey, that team had never made a game like that before, so they were like, oh fuck it, let's just try making a strategy game. Why
See
not?
what happens. Yeah. Yeah, it's on the agenda, but it looks rough.
But no, I'm glad there are other people out there playing Fortnite. So if you are ever looking for people to do terrible emotes with, I am always down to Fortnite with it. It's everybody out there, just give Fortnite a try. And also, I'm just going to say this right now. You and I both know at some point Persona is coming to Fortnite.
We were talking about this the other day. I was like, you could see Joker coming to this game for sure. It makes sense. It makes total sense to do it.
Also, I'm just going to blow everyone's mind because this is just true. I don't know why this is this big of a thing. Hey guys, remember the game engine making Fortnite is making SMT5. And look at every other AAA game that has ever used Unreal Engine, with the exception of Kingdom Hearts, because there's obviously other legal reasons there. But, literally, I could see them doing play the Switch version of Fortnite on SMT launch weekend or whatever, and you get, the pro tag as a person. Because it's
totally see that.
Think about it. They it's obviously going to be an M-rated game. They are used to using guns in SMT. They have physical stuff for physical attacks. So it would be super that would make more sense than Persona to me. But the Persona one would obviously be of course Persona makes sense financially. SMT makes more sense promotionally.
Right. Yeah. I could see it. I could see it too. Besides that though. You know what? I was talking to Gnarly. I play a little bit of Warzone too, so it's two battle royale
what are you talking about, dude? I was literally playing Warzone with Gnarly. I got my first actual no baby special mode, just an honest to godness win in Warzone for like the first time with Gnarly like last week. It felt way
Yeah,
too good. It felt way, way, way too good.
it's a lot of fun. Really good game if you're playing like when I was playing what like Soul Hackers or something, or like the phone game there, the Megami Tensei mobile game. You get on that for a couple hours, and you get off and play Warzone. It's like the best feeling ever to do something totally different.
It's like a good way to like kind of like, because like for me, when I like especially sink a lot of time into a big game of like, oh my god, I can't just imagine going in from like one to another, like RPG
Yeah,
wise, like it would just be so weird. Like that's why it was like really really funny for me of this is literally how I played. I played 3 different Persona 5 games last year for the first time. I
yeah.
beat 5 for the first time last year before Scramble came out in Japan. Then I immediately played Scramble, and then immediately got a review code for Royal. So I played all 3 of those over the course of like a month, and it was
Oh wow,
it was very jarring. Like it
you're gonna
was.
get burned out fast. Yeah.
Well, that was the funny thing. I was very worried I actually would get burnt out, especially with Royal coming off of Vanilla so fast, and they were both my first time. But it was one of those
Right.
things of like, for me, I know we talked about things of like, hey, you're wasting your time if you do both or whatever, but I wanted to be, and to my knowledge, I'm still the only review on the internet of Royal who actually goes into, hey, let's talk about the comparisons. It's easy to say this has changed, or this is different, or this is better. But then there are also cases that I'm like the only one out there who I know, in review format at least, like mentioned stuff like, hey, they give up on adding new stuff to the dungeons and bosses in like the last 2/3 of the game. It's really bad. Like there are moments when playing Royal, you see the budget ran out. It's bad. Like,
Really?
and no one
That's funny.
but because most people who were reviewing Royal played it at launch 3 years ago have these rose tinted glasses of like, oh dude, like, because like if you look at Persona 5 Royal's review scores, you would think that every copy came with an own a hole for free. Like you would think this was like
Yeah.
you would think this was like just like the climax of video game RPGs. And the
Right.
reality of it is literally it was reviewed with rose tinted glasses and was people looking at review scores of Persona 5 and going, well, it's this plus more, so I have to review it higher.
Yeah, you got like what perfect tens across the board, right?
Yeah, like the fact that like it was one of the highest rated games on Metacritic last year for me, it was just like I love this series and I love this game, but like I don't know, do you ever have like games out there where you're like, I really like this game, but the reaction to it is way, way, way too masturbatory and way too self-positive?
I'm trying to think. I've had that before. It might be like I don't. That's a tough question actually, because if I really like a game, I might be inclined to also kind of like, get hyped up with
Well,
everybody
yeah,
else.
like I
Yeah.
get like, okay, so this is like a weird thing for me of like things like, especially I guess talking about like Gnarly and Simply Dad, and I've told both of them this before. I fucking videos do. This is a masterpiece. This game
Okay. Yeah.
is perfect. This game's
Yeah.
the stinkiest doo doo. Like I every time I see a video title like that, I go into it with this. I'll watch it, but if this video doesn't explain to me that this game is the second coming of Christ, because I don't go into those videos thinking, I'm not reading the title as Spencer thinks this game is a masterpiece. Like the video title, like I want to finish that video and I want you to basically hold my hand and walk me through why you think this is the best game ever. And so many
Right.
of those never do. They just feel like, dude, this is a great 9. But a 9 isn't a master. A
Not
master.
a perfect
You
game.
can't
Yeah.
like, especially like, and I know there are other channels out there. Like I'm not like just talking about those two, but like there are some channels where it feels like every video they do is either this is the worst or this is the best. If you call everything one or the other, there's no middle ground. You have to like the review scale is a scale for a reason. Like work the numbers. Like enjoy talking about 7s and 4s.
Yeah, for sure. In my videos, I try to just stay. I do at the end. I'll do like a tier ranking, but I do try to like avoid saying like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever." This is where I'm just like, "This is what I think about it. You should try it too and see for yourself." I try to stay away from like, "Oh, this is super good, super bad," unless it's something like kind of objective. Like, yeah, I always bring back like Sloth from SM. Like, you can't really defend something like that. But so yeah, unless it's something like really bad, like I try not to go that route.
So, like, a big one for me in recent history, Royal was a big one, but Royal's also easy just to kind of, like, pass off as, like, a lot of reviewers are just kind of do it. Like, people have critiqued Royal. Like, not like I'm the only one out there who has critiqued it at all, but a big one that I just still feel like the only one who really talks about this is 13 Sentinels, according to Twitter, might actually be the cure for cancer. According to Twitter,
Yeah, people are crazy about that one.
13 Sentinels is the best game ever, 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 and I've loved it all my life, even though it just came out in September last year and nobody bought it. So, have you played it all yourself?
No, you know what? I don't even have a Switch yet. I'm gonna get one for SMT5 probably.
I got bad news. It's a PS4 exclusive, but that's part of the problem, so don't feel bad.
Oh, it's not a Switch game.
No.
Okay. I thought it was. I don't know why.
Vanillaware Games, since literally their inception, they are a company who has made amazing games for PC, but they've only ever wanted to release on PlayStation systems.
I could have swore it was a Switch. I don't know why. That's interesting. Okay, so I could play it then.
You could.
I could buy it like today.
So, like, according to Twitter, and like I'm assuming like you've seen some of the stuff out there, like people will just be like, game story's amazing, it's perfect, the cast is great, the music's off the hook, the story's doing things I've never heard before. And I'm someone who I like to consider myself someone who had their... Like, I've been following Vanillaware since all the way back, I guess, Grimoire on PS2. So, like, my thing with them is, like, I've been following... Like, here's a good example. I have been a fan of 13 Sentinels since it was announced as a Vita game. And obviously that version got canceled. So, like, when people are talking about it, like... I have this like thing of like when people like a great one for the story is this, and this isn't even getting into spoilers, but people are like, oh my god, like its story, it's like no one's ever done a story like this before with this many protagonists, or like the way they're handling time travel and blah blah blah. And I'm sitting over here like, I like that you enjoy this game, but what you're telling me is that I'm someone who's never read science fiction before, because like literally I can think of 10 movies and books that have done the plot of 13 Sentinels. Some better, some worse, but it is not a wholly original plot. And like the devs weren't trying to make it that way. It's just how people were reacting to it. But it's just so weird to me of like, I love this game. I told people on Twitter, I was like, hey, buy this game. It's going to be like one of the rarest Atlus games ever. It got a super fucking tiny print run. They're never going to make more copies.
It's going to be rare. I better pick it up.
It's going to be rare. It's just one of those things of like, it sold like absolute fucking dog shit. And it's just a really, really cool game. There's not a lot of games that do this. But like the way people are like talking about it is like, especially there's one line that always gets shared around on Twitter that I even called out in my review of like, I think this is the worst video game line I heard all of last year. And it is the ending of this character's story, and I'll spoil it just because it's that bad, but the ending of this character's plot is literally just her saying, I'm not just a high school girl, I'm a high school girl with a robot, and that's how her story ends.
Oh my god.
And it's like, people have shared that, being like, oh my, dude, this fucking hit me, dude. That story was so good.
They're lying.
I'm like, what game were we playing?
What are you talking about?
It's just, it's so weird. I'm like, guys, I play, listen, I enjoy playing Dynasty Warriors 9. I'm not saying I'm only playing 10 out of 10 games. Like, I'll swim around in the muck and play some garbage games every now and then, too.
Yeah.
But, like, guys, we can't act like... Okay, because this is the other word. Like, it's not like I'm mad that people are saying this. It just... It shows to me their lack of other media experience. So, like, even just in the short amount of time of talking to you, like, this is the most time I've ever talked to you, whether it be online or offline. But, like, we've talked about other game series, like, even, like, Metal Gear Solid or other things like that. Of, like, you can't just, like, limit yourself to these couple different, like, series. Like, you're doing yourself a disservice as a fan of entertainment the less you know about other series, you know?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Like here's a good one of like a popular analogy that I never hear anyone make. Did you ever play Horizon Zero Dawn?
I haven't, but I've seen some people play through it.
Okay. Literally, 13 Sentinels copies half of Horizon Zero Dawn's story and no one talks about it.
Really?
And like and again, it's not going to be like, oh, you can't be inspired, you can't homage, or like you can't like, because like the whole point of 13 Sentinels is it's like it's a giant love letter to sci-fi and different kinds of like storytelling mediums, and like that's great, that's cool that you do that. The problem is the development team knew that and the people playing it didn't. So everyone who's been playing it on the web, and it's really weird because like Japanese Twitter and like other people, like when the game came out in Japan, people weren't lauding the game as like a arc de triomphe of like, oh my god, nothing's ever been done like this before. And then Western Twitter, like, oh man, I remember this. I'll be curious how you feel about this. Do you feel like there's any like people out there who are way too into game creators into this time of like, oh my god, this guy likes X, I like X.
Oh no, I feel that for sure. Yeah, 100%.
Like the big one for me,
Yeah.
the big one for me was with 13 Sentinels. Yoko Taro and Sakurai from Smash Brothers mentioned it in their like Famitsu like top 10 games or whatever, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I really like this game. I thought it was a really good like story and stuff like that." And I would see people, whether it be like Facebook or Twitter, be like, "Dude, Yoko Taro gave this game a stamp of approval. Next gen, dude. This is a game that's gonna be fucking amazing." And I'm like, I love Yoko Taro, but dude, it's not like if Yoko Taro told me to eat at Chili's, I'd be at fucking Chili's the next night.
Right. Yeah, like it's an interesting looking game. From somebody who hasn't played it, it's something where I go on Twitter, and I'm new to Twitter. I don't follow a ton of people, but I'll see retweets and all kinds of different stuff where it's like a lot of people are still talking about this game. And it's kind of weird seeing how many people talk about it like on Twitter, but then I know like nobody really in like real life or anything that's played it or knows what it is. There's just like this huge contrast between like it didn't. You said it didn't sell that well, right? But there's so many people like really hyping it up. So it's interesting.
It is extra weird too, because yeah, I like one of my like most popular videos I made last year is literally just called "Why 13 Sentinels Was a Financial Failure in the West," and every day, like every day without stop, I get a new comment on that video saying, "I just found this game, it's great." I love comments like that. Like, please prove me wrong in that sentiment. Like every comment I get like that is awesome, but you have to also remember I literally have less than 3,000 YouTube subscribers, so I do one person coming to my video, like I'm probably the person who's covered it one of the most on YouTube, but that's such a low bar. That's like, that's like saying like that's like saying I slept with everyone at my school and then being like I was homeschooled though. It's like, well, A, that's a low number I hope, and B, that shouldn't be the answer.
Right.
So yeah, it's like, and I mean, I get it. I'm a big Hideo Kojima simp. I fucking love almost everything Hideo Kojima loves. But guess what? There are also movies out there that he thinks are trash that I love, and like vice versa. Like, it's cool to have creators you like, but at least to me, like I have a lot of creators that like I love. Like I don't know, like what, like for you, do you have like any people, whether it be in the video game industry or like other entertainment mediums, where you're just like, man, I really really appreciate your work, and you like to follow them not just for the stuff that they do, but just for like the conversation they put out there?
Yeah, you know what? This is kind of funny that I think his name is like Swerry or something. It's the guy who made
Oh
Deadly Premonition.
Swerry 65. He's fucking awesome.
And I was like super into that guy. And then when the second one came out, right now, like wasn't that great. And I was like, what? Like it kind of really surprised me because I love the first game, even though it wasn't a perfect game by any stretch. It's one of my favorite games of all time was Deadly Premonition 1. And I was like, when the second one came out on Switch and it had like the frame rate stuff, I was like, really? Like what's going on here? It was surprising.
Wait, a Switch game had bad performance? Get out of here.
I don't know why they just did it Switch, right?
Do you know what game engine it was made? If you don't know, that would explain why you were surprised.
I don't know. Yeah.
Would you like to guess what game engine was running it very very badly?
I got like no idea because like I don't even know what the first one was on. It was clunky though. It was a clunky engine.
It was Unity.
Unity. Okay,
Unity,
there you go.
I have a large amount of respect for Swerry, just from like I've actually been a fan of Swerry's because people don't know this as well. Weird, like dumb facts nobody asked for. But did you know he actually worked, like some of his very first video games were SNK games. He worked on the story for like SNK fighting games.
Yeah, I'd heard about that. Yeah.
Like I'm at his like game discography or whatever. Like Kizuna Encounter, he worked on the Last Blade 2. Extra big shout out, he was a designer on Tomba 2. Like, so he's just got a really really like weird list of things. Like he also like things like big and small. He worked on Deadly Premonitions. Makes sense. He worked on Lords of Arcana and Lords of Apocalypse, the Monster Hunter clone by Square Enix for PSP and Vita. But like,
Right,
yeah.
yeah. You see the spy fiction one? That's a crazy game. That's a totally different game
Oh my
than
god!
like
Oh
Deadly
yeah,
Premonition. Yeah.
Jesus. And like other ones, like you mentioned, like you weren't a huge fan of D2, but like okay, not like the horror game D2, Deadly Premonitions 2. I love that there's an actual game series called D that I had to make that correction. But so
Yeah, D.
somebody out there, the D fan in the chat, anyone out there who has not played this, have you checked out The Missing?
The Missing. I don't think so. It sounds familiar. Oh, it's a TV show. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
no. The Missing is it's like think like a 2D adventure puzzle platformer. It's
Oh shit, yeah. I
really,
got some
really,
weird
really
ass like
good.
British TV show. My bad.
It probably is as well. But The Missing is one of those games where like the less you know about it, the better. And the best part about it is it's literally on everything: PS4, Xbox, Switch, Window.
I've never. Yeah, I've seen this before. You said it's on Windows?
Mhm.
I'll have to check it out. Interesting.
I feel like it was on Game Pass at one point or a while, but I'm sure it's been out for so long it's like dirt cheap. It's like almost 3 years
Cool.
old.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of this before. That's interesting.
That's one of those games. It's like if you like Swerry for his Deadly Premonition stuff, especially the writing, this has a lot of him at the writing at its best. But you want to go in knowing like as little as possible.
Yeah, I love his writing on Deadly, just because it's so goofy, you know. I don't know. It's just a really weird game. I don't even know how to encapsulate my feelings about that. It'd be a cool thing to make a video about someday.
Now that you're on Twitter, do you follow Swerry at all?
You know, it slipped my mind, but I'm about to do it
I'm
right
gonna
now.
tell you if you tweet it at Swery, he will like follow you back, assuming it is not horribly mean things. He's one of those like Japanese creators who will just follow everybody back as long as you tweeted him, and like similar to Yokotaro, he replies to everybody, whether he should or shouldn't.
I'm gonna give it a shot. Yeah, I'm new to the site, so I'm trying to like, get everybody that I want to follow down, and I forgot about all the devs I'd want to follow. Swear's got to be like the first one, and then probably Kojima.
Okay, walk me through this though. So, what led you to finally getting on Twitter in 2021 after so long?
People kept telling me to do it because the only place I post is YouTube community. That's it.
Shout out to YouTube community, man. The couple
I like
hundred of
it.
you in there. Appreciate
There's
it.
people. My polls in there would get like 6,000 votes. I was like, damn, people use this. It's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of weird too, because yeah, you'll get the random randos in there too. Of like, even if they're not subscribed to you, like I've somehow scrolled through YouTube's homepage and like we'll just find a community post from someone I'm not following. It's really weird.
Yeah, I don't know how it works at all, but it seems like they reach people somehow. It was surprising. But yeah, I moved on to Twitter just because I guess you want to reach more people. It's obviously more popular, so
Tumblr's
had to do
dead.
it
You gotta find somewhere to post your Rule 34 stuff. So might as well make it on Twitter. We'll get
Twitter,
banned
yeah.
there. So, for you, I guess, and then now, I'm trying to think how I want to phrase this. Because you've mentioned a couple of different people for it. When you started doing your videos, were you already kind of entwined in the Megaton fandom at all? Like, were you talking to other... Because, like, literally the only reason I knew you was when you got added to that Discord chat with everybody.
The chat, yeah. No, so I didn't know anybody when I started making these. And I think somehow the algorithm picked up my Devil Summoner video. And then I think Gnarly saw it. And he just added me to the group chat after that. And then after that, I kind of met, like, everybody. So I didn't know anybody when I was starting out.
Yeah, it's been really weird, especially for me, starting in like the community side of it. Whereas like I knew a lot of these people, like I mentioned to you, like I knew LaRue before he was LaRue, even before like Did You Know Tensei stuff. Of like I know like literally I'm in the same town as Gnarly and different things like that. Of
Really?
like a
Cool.
lot of these times are like people I just knew because there are not a lot of like communities, especially back in like 2012. There weren't like a lot of active, not shitty communities for the series, and it's been really funny of like how many I know, but also at the same time different people like I just never met or never knew. Like I never knew about you, I never knew about Maka, I never knew about who's like I remember what, and I still don't even really know that much about him as well. I remember when I saw Simply Dad, because he was in the group at one point. I don't know if you were in that group as well then. But at one point,
I don't think so. Yeah.
Simply Dad was in that group, and I remember being like, Simply Dad has like so many subscribers, and it makes like no sense. And then I looked up his name not on YouTube, but I looked it up on Google, and it made a lot more sense of basically not to like summarize it as much, but like I guess at one point he was like half YouTube channel review channel, like just reviewing other YouTubers and shit like that.
Really?
And
I
like,
didn't know that.
yeah, trust me, if you look up, like, there are two different sides of like Simply Dad. If you look at his channel now, it's like, oh cool, he's into a lot of game stuff. He's got some opinions on games. And you look at like Simply Dad on the internet or like through old videos he's deleted and stuff of like, I don't know whether he just wasn't happy with him or whatnot. But it's just so funny. It was like they might as well just be two different people, but the tone is just totally the same. Like
Same thing. Yeah.
I found like randomly while searching up stuff about him, like he got on this podcast who invited him on because one of the hosts was tweeting shit at him and he didn't like how his tone was on Twitter. And I'm like I imagine in like my brain, Dad either has the most time in the world or like has Google alerts set up for, which like I think he has said he does not have, but like for a guy like it's just like so many little weird things came up for it of like, and that's like why I had to have him on like the show. It was just so funny of like, I'm just gonna have you out here because like, man, this is fucking,
that's crazy. Yeah.
It was just one of those fun little like weird moments of like, man, I would never have met you or fucking found your channel, but I mean, hey, I can at least say I've held a conversation with you now, so I've considered myself enlightened.
This is true. Yeah. Like I've heard of a lot of people before I started. Like I knew of Gnarly, I knew of LaRue. I think I knew of Dad also, and then I never thought like, you know, I'd end up actually like talking to them and stuff because I never saw myself actually doing videos. It was all just kind of like a product of being quarantined, so it's kind of funny that it worked out that way.
I'm trying to. So, is there anyone out there? Not like saying like in like a fanboy kind of way, but like, is there anyone out there you would like to interact with more, whether it be like in a collaborative way or like you just like actually like, oh, it'd be cool to talk to this person?
It'd be cool to talk to there's Jim Reaper. I've never heard of anybody who's talked to him before.
Who is this?
Jim Reaper is a YouTuber that does, he talks every once in a while, but he does like Nocturne and DDS, like low level challenge runs. It's a really funny channel.
I want you just to know that I'm just imagining in my head, probably very poorly, I'm just imagining that like Jim Reaper is just Corpse but plays Megaton.
I don't know. I've never heard of it, and nobody's ever been like, "Oh yeah, he's a cool guy. I've talked to him." I don't know anything about him.
I'm looking at his channel, like for random clips of stuff. It's really funny, like how many views he gets for just like something random of just like, "Hey, here's DDS2 low level hard mode. Let's go."
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is like one of the best Megaton channels." I think it's really interesting that nobody's ever kind of like reached out with him, or if they have, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't answer. He just doesn't do that. But it's interesting. So I'd love to talk to him. I guess anybody really. I'd like to, besides the creators that I know, like, you know, the ones I've listed, like Gnarly, Simply Dad, LaRue, your channel, I don't know, like Gab. There's probably a lot that I'm missing. I'd like to talk to guys like people. I don't know. Who's one that was in David Cast? I've never talked to him before.
Dave is really, really cool. One of the funny things is like, I've had people like suggest other people of like, oh man, you should have this person on. I love having the adverse reaction to it though, of like, I remember, what was it, like, someone was like, oh my god, dude, you gotta get Johnny Awesome on here. And I'm like, what would I ask him about? Like, no offense, like, I don't watch Let's Plays. It would be it would be interesting to, like, talk about it. But, like, there was a time where Johnny Awesome was in that Discord group as well. I don't know if you remember. But, like, he was in there, and it would literally just be like, and I'd look at his stuff, and remember, I don't watch Let's Plays. I have like just negative interest in any Let's Plays at all. And so it's just kind of funny of like, okay, I'm sure it'd be kind of like interesting for it, but like I was even like talking with this about Gnarly at one point of like, so why is he popular? Like, and not like in a condescending way, like I'm legitimately like curious of like, it's like, oh, he blew up really big with Persona 5, and I'm like,
Persona 5, right? Yeah.
And I'm like, it's like, that's gotta be like so weird, and then it's like, okay, so he like plays other stuff as well, but like I remember I was thinking about this recently as well because he did a like sponsored video, and this is really weird that a sponsored video gave me the best idea of like who he was. I got more of an idea through Johnny Awesome's personality through a sponsored Dragon Quest Tact video than just looking at any of his random Let's Plays. That's just because like I'm just not the kind of person who's really into that kind of thing. Just because I've always been in the side of like, hey, if I like games, I will be playing them myself. There you go. And like again, it doesn't go.
Fair.
It doesn't go into a thing of like saying, "Oh, I don't like him as a person," or "I don't like blah blah blah." I'm sure I would love to have him on or whatever, but it's just one of those funny things of like there are just some of those people out there you see are like so popular. It's like I need to know why, not because I'm jealous. Because remember, I'm actively unpopular. It's impressive I've done this for almost a decade and am as unpopular as possible. Like, my favorite thing is when someone knows about SMTN, but has no idea, like, that I'm the dude who's been doing it for as long as I have.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Of, like, I've talked to people who've been like, oh, yeah, I'm, like, in this Facebook group. You should join this thing. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I made that. Like, in 2012.
Me? Yeah. Yeah, I watched Johnny when he made, like, I think an Apocalypse playthrough. I didn't watch the playthrough, but when I would play some of the bosses, he had, like, a... I don't know, is it a spoiler to say the end of Apocalypse? I don't know, he did the last boss, and that was a really cool video. So he does play some SMT stuff, so there might be something to talk about there. But yeah, I knew of him, I think maybe when he had like 100,000 subscribers. So since then he's grown like a lot more.
Like one of my favorite things as well is like getting people on here of like any level in experience or exposure to the series. Like some of my like favorite guests I've ever had on were people who had just like the most borderline connection to the series of like I had a friend on who's into game dev, and I remember I had him on like last year. He's maybe played like P3, P4, P5, and like Strange Journey. And it was one of those things of just like we were talking about like Doom inspirations or other things, but like what was fun talking about it was like he's a dev who's actually worked in stuff like Unity and Unreal Engine 4, and we're like for that episode we were talking about like, hey, let's actually talk about some of the like Switch limitations because he has a Switch dev kit. He's worked at he's worked on UE4, whether it be personal projects and stuff on Switch. Like, so you kind of get an idea of like, okay, what is this process probably like for them, and like getting different aspects you wouldn't normally see. Like,
right, yeah.
Like another guest I really really loved having on that like people don't really know about a lot. So you know about Digital Devil Saga, right?
Yeah.
So the author who wrote Digital Devil Saga did a book series after the fact. It's part of it's like a quadrilogy. And they're called Avatar Tuner, Quantum Devil Saga, and there's only been 2 released in America. They sold really, really poorly. But the translator behind them, I guess probably more appropriate would be like the localizer, author, and stuff, Kevin Frayne. I had him on, and he was really, really great in the sense of all we talked about was like the book and his time as a localizer, but he was like a localizer during the weird PS2 era for Sega and stuff, and he's worked for a bunch of like he worked on translating like 428 Shibuya Scramble or whatever, and like he's just worked on like a ton of different things. And what was so cool about it is like he's so knowledgeable about her, like the original author of DDS and Quantum Devil Saga. Of like that interview would be so hard for me to get just because just like setting up would be such a pain. Like I would probably have an easier time flying to Japan and talking. I would just pull a Nick Robinson and be like, I'm gonna go to Japan, we're gonna talk like literally like it's kind of sad, but like it is easier if you are there face to face to like get that interview, and not like because like they don't want to do it, just because like especially if you're like a smaller creator. Like, it's like, those opportunities just don't always arrive. But, like, if you can kind of get those, like, face-to-face things, it always makes it happen a lot easier. Whereas with Western stuff, I think it's a lot easier for, like, oh, I'm going to reach out to someone on Twitter or, like, email them and get them on the show that way. Like, one of my favorite things is when people will ask me and be like, oh, my God, how did you get, like, I'm pulling someone out my eye. Like, oh my God, how'd you get like Lotus Juice or like Matthew Mercer on the show? Like, literally, I met them in person. And was like, please talk to me in a room with this microphone for an hour.
You had Lotus Juice. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Which one's that? I gotta check that one out.
The Lotus Juice one actually would be like 2016 or so. It was a while back. It was like one of the last times he was in America. But that one was really, really fun. I waited outside. Like, so I had an interview scheduled actually through talking to him a little bit before, and it was like, hey, schedules got super mixed up. You basically got bumped from the list, so I can't really promise you any time. His like manager guy who was there with him was like, hey dude, we're like super late and he's gotta go like relax or whatever, so like we can't talk at all. And I've been waiting outside of this room in like Arizona, and I'm just been like just sweating my ass off, nervous for this thing to even happen.
Right.
And then finally I'm like, oh my god, like like literally, if I could have talked to him for like 5 minutes, I would have been like just super super in, just because like I just wanted to talk to him and just talk, like not in one of those ways of like, I don't know if you ever go to like anime conventions, but like one of my things I really like about it a lot when guests do come to the conventions, I hate the autograph line for the idea of like, oh dude, I want this one voice actor to sign this game he was in. Like that's like the weirdest thing in my brain. I'll never get past it. But like,
Right.
I love the opportunity of getting to meet those people and like go to panels and like actually talk about them and their work. It's basically just like doing this, but just in person. So the Lotus Juice thing was like really, really just like perfect for me. I was able to see him as he was getting out of the room from the previous interview, and you could just tell like on his face immediately, the dude was just asking like the most boring questions. And I won't tell who it was, but I did go back and look up their interview. I was like, so what's like you really like rapping as a Japanese guy in a Persona game? Like, it was like just really boilerplate. Like, my mom had to come up with questions for him on the way. Like, but like, I sat down and was like, hey, dude, I just want to talk for a couple of minutes, if any amount of time you can. It was really, really great. We talked for like, I think almost like an hour or more, and it was really, really funny because it was one of those moments of like, you click a lot more when, and this is just my like, things I've noticed as like an interviewer. When you're not just talking, like, you don't want it to just seem like 20 minutes of, like, bop, 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 talk about this, talk about this, talk about this. Like, a good example is, when I talked with Lotus Juice, we talked about stuff like Corpse Party, like that old, like horror game for, like, PC and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about that, as well as, like, we talked about, Dancing All Night pre-dev stuff, because I don't know if you remember, Dancing All Night was going to be made by the Project Diva team at Dingo, and Atlus just pulled the plug on it, and was like,
remember that.
So he's one of the only members who worked on both projects because he was involved from the very beginning because of the music side and also on the production side. So it was like really, really funny of like talking to him about stuff like that and like learning things that have like never really been put out of like, oh yeah, the Dingo version was like done. They like scrapped that whole game. Like
That's
Atlus
crazy.
saw like that whole game and they're like, it's too much Miku. I need more story in this game. And they just cut them. They just cut the whole thing out of the game and like having like little other things of like, cause like, and I get it. Like you have someone who's like a musician. He's known for the series. He's literally brought to this anime convention to sing Persona songs and anime songs. I get it, but like you have to like think of the other questions you can ask them of like, how did you really get into this? Certain aspect and not just be like, what made you like music? It's like those questions. Like, imagine if I
Why
brought
do you like music?
imagine if I brought you on here and be like, what makes you like a Megaton game? Like, what? How do those buttons? Like, what's that? So like, notice we haven't talked about any of these games' stories or mechanics or anything. It's like it's just one of those things of like those questions. Like, sure, there's validity of those questions, but like those questions can get boring and can get repetitive to various different people in various different levels.
Yeah, it sounds tough. I've never tried to like interview someone like that, so I think it'd be hard for me to come up with like a really good question for someone like Lotus or anybody else. Really, I think that'd be tough.
It was it was one of those funny things as well because it was actually the second time I'd ever met him. I met him very quickly in passing the year before. And thank God I'm a very boring white guy in his early 20s at the time, so I had not aged a day. So it was one of those things of like, and I don't know. I think it's just because I almost feel like I'm a terrible extrovert, or if being a good extrovert is a thing. But like, I don't know if it's just my personality or the way I've just been podcasting for so long. I never have that moment of like, holy shit, I'm going to talk to someone and I have no idea what I'm going to talk to them about.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
One of my favorite interviews I went into super, super blind was really recently. So, do you know PCB Productions? Like, they were a recording, like, voiceover recording company.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
So basically, they're the people who've done like every Tony Hawk game, every Call of Duty game, and every Atlus game. Anything of that like that has an English dub. Like they've done every Atlus voiceover from Eternal Punishment to Nocturne and Strikers.
Okay.
So I
Cool.
was interviewing them. Sorry, I was scheduling an interview for the longest time, and I didn't know until literally an hour before that the guy I was going to interview. I just assumed I was going to get some intern, producer, some dude who worked on like fucking something, expecting nothing. And literally an hour beforehand, like I'm getting off work and getting ready for like how we were doing the show now, I find out I was doing it with the CEO, Keith.
Oh
And
shit. Yeah.
and immediately just went to, oh my god, like, and I've interviewed CEOs before of like companies and stuff, but it's just one of those things of like, oh my god, okay, well, what am I gonna ask him?
Like, yeah, wasn't expecting that.
But like, what was so cool is that because of how hands on he was with everything. Literally, this dude I interviewed was like in the room with people at Atlus Japan when they were doing the first vocal like read throughs of Eternal Punishment on PS1. Like he like
It's
showed me off.
crazy.
Like I wish I could have taken a picture of this, but like when we were done with the interview, like we were talking about some stuff off the record, and one of my favorite parts is he showed me the script book of voice lines from Japan that had to be sent, like written in America, sent to Japan, and then sent back to him to record the lines. Just the entire script of Eternal
Wow.
Punishment, and like he
That's
still had
crazy.
that just like in his office. I'm like, that's it. Like I mentally like couldn't imagine like having like anything cooler than that. Of like, well, like a
Yeah, that's
cool
awesome.
like random thing to have, but like because like it goes back to one of those things of like it's cool in retrospect, but like it's not like getting something like, oh man, I've landed a Hideo Kojima interview. Like I would die a happy man if I could do that. But like finding those like people like kind of on like different levels of coolness for different reasons get me equally as excited.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's really interesting. Like, yeah, I don't even know. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start with the interview. It's cool that you met all these different people. I haven't looked through all of your really older podcasts, but I've saw you've done like
There's a
voice
lot of
actors and
garbage
stuff like
hours.
that.
There's a lot of garbage hours,
There's
let me tell you.
there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just interesting. Like, I guess these are they always like open to interviews, or do you gotta like really chase them down, and like how does it
that's
even work?
that's one of like my favorite parts is like yeah I've even like had that thing of like yeah people ask me like oh do you have to like pay them to like have them on the show and like talk to them of like and I've never ever had that. I've never even had like kind of come up and never really had to beg anybody. It's usually just been I will reach out, explain that what I do, the way the interview is going to kind of work, and it just kind of goes from there of like I always am like hey here's what SMTN is. I think you'd be a great guest on the show. I will take as much time as you have. And my favorite are those guests, similar to the Lotus Juice thing of like, like when this like, goes to like how dumb I was for episode 100. For episode 100 of SMTN, I decided to get every guest who had ever appeared on the show, like big industry guests, like voice actors, whether it be like Yuri Lowenthal, Tara Platt, people like that. I got every guest back again to either do a re-interview or a shout-out again. And it was like a five and a
Really?
half hour long show because I got everybody back and had no time limit filter. It
That's
was...
sick. I'll have to check that out.
And
Yeah.
there's one of those like funny things of like in terms of like making it up, it's like oh my god, like what a terrible idea in terms of like where I remember like the Audacity file for that was like my computer crashed like 3 times just trying like to export.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, it's gonna be huge.
So like it was
That's
in
insane.
it was then even funnier going back to like more recently with episode 200 of like oh I'll do something easy in the sense of like I just basically did hey what does SMT mean to you and let people just kind of have at it from there and that was really fun and definitely was a lot shorter than like a 5 hour like show of like stapling all these different people and scheduling but even then it was like getting all these people to send stuff in on time make sure it was listenable get everything in because like I already feel like literally even right now like I'm being totally honest anytime I ever have anyone on the show who's not me, I feel like I'm always on the verge of just wasting everybody's time, and I just never want to have that happen. I just be like, oh man, like, cause like I get like that, like we could be doing other stuff right now, but like I never really like know where everyone's kind of like headspace is always at. So like that's why I always try and make it really abundantly clear how much I appreciate whether it be someone coming on like you or even just like all the people watching us live in the chat right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's really cool to hear that they're like, they're really responsive to the community like that. Because you and I guess, like, we're like well known enough, but I don't consider myself anywhere near the same level as like a voice actor or something. So it's interesting to think that, like, in theory, I could talk to them too, or anybody could talk to them. It's cool that they do that, especially like you said with like the CEO. That's just crazy. I wouldn't have figured. I wouldn't even know like where to start with something like that. So it's cool to hear that you've been able to do that.
Like what one of the best moments of that was like I didn't even know where to start with him because I when I started looking him up I was like, oh, he had like a band in the '90s. He did like part of the soundtrack to Earthworm Jim. Like he had an interesting enough life for its own podcast before the whole PCB production CEO thing. And so like
Yeah,
there were it just immediately expanded everything out into there. So it's always so fun of like kind of getting it all on there. And I mean I'm just always like a sucker for I just like love getting to talk and whether it be meet new people and do different things like that of like if I could make this my job and be like the the weeb version of Joe Rogan, like I would literally love nothing more if I could like have like a schedule where Monday through Friday I'm just like talking to someone for an hour to two every day about just like different
that'd be
stuff.
pretty sick.
Like
Yeah, that'd be
I
pretty
would
awesome.
love that, but God Jesus, God, well, not that no one would listen. It's like I just like could not like financially like live that way, but like it's one of those things.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the passion is totally there, and like I guess going back to passion is kind of another thing I want to ask you, but like one of the things that I always find really funny is when people ask like, "Oh, how have you done this for so long?" It's never been a thing of like even when I took breaks from doing the podcast, like I mentioned to you, I was still always in admin mode. I never like took a break from SMTN like as a whole. I never was like, "Oh, I'm not really into the games." Like even if it's a game I'm like critical of or if I love to death, it's like one of those things of like there was always something interesting to interact with it, whether it be a lot, a little, making a joke, or doing something. And
Right.
that is definitely not the case for everybody. Like for you, have you like ever thought long term in your head, whether it be I've played and made a video for every Megaton game I want to, or like do you ever fear or even just like suspect in your head of like, oh, I could see myself burning out and wanting to move on to something else?
I think for me, I do have a clear goal, and it's like everything. I want to review every game, as many as I can in Megaton. It's like pre PS2. I think that's the goal is that I want to go for that for sure. Now I know I did Soul Hackers, which is newer, but since it's kind of like a port, it's like it doesn't, I guess, count. So I want to cover like a lot of the stuff that's older, and then from there, if there's interest in like another Nocturne review or another SMT4 review, because there's already plenty of those. But if people want to see it, I'd be willing to keep going. But I do have sort of like an end goal in mind that I think would take a few years to reach, so I'm not like worried about it yet. But I think the appeal of my channel, I don't know if it's me, but I think the especially the appeal is, I'm filling sort of like a niche that not too many other people are doing for certain games. So once you fill that, I think it might be I'll have to think about, do I want to move on or do I want to do other games, like a different series that doesn't get enough attention? So that's kind of where I am on that.
As a guy whose channel talks about either Atlus games or PlayStation Vita games, I can 100% relate to niche subject matters.
Yeah.
Like because I've talked with other people, whether it be people who make videos about it or even like podcasts. Because what's funny is one of the reasons I made SMTN was because there wasn't a podcast like this. I was filling a niche. It's like, imagine if like the next day you and a friend were like, dude, let's make a video game podcast. Like whether the passion's there or not, like isn't it like daunting to be like, Jesus, am I just gonna throw my voice into the ether of like the 9 millionth just general video game
Right. There's
podcast?
so many of them. Right. Yeah.
So it was nice to kind of be there at the foreground of, okay, we're the first one, we're still going, and like even bigger ones I see have trouble like having like even monthly shows. And whether it be
Oh
trouble
yeah.
with scheduling or trouble with like the passion, because like making a video and covering thing is a different one. Making a podcast, which is a long form discussion, is already going to be a tougher one. Getting multiple people to come in and do those things with you, and then editing and publishing them, it can kind of take a toll. Because like I've seen so many different Megaton podcasts that have like either come and fallen or like gone away and whatnot. And it's one of those things of like in the back of my head, even now, because like I feel like I'm gonna be on like a friend's podcast. I'm totally blanking. King Norakami's asked me on his like first episode of his podcast on like Thursday, and like I think
Okay.
he would be like the fourth one right now, not including SMTN. And like obviously everyone like kind of does like their own thing on it. They put their own like twist and personality. And I don't ever want it to like come across as like, oh no, only I can do this because I've done it the longest. But you
Oh yeah.
definitely can't help but notice, oh yeah, like sometimes like, and I've talked to people like it, whether it be like David Cass, be like, oh yeah, like sometimes it's hard getting one up like every week or every month, just for those various different reasons. And like another great reason is like I am the only host who has done this from episode 1 to now, not only because I am the person who has to pay all the hosting fees and do the editing and publishing, but like I've had hosts who have done 10 episodes with me, and I've literally had co-hosts who have done over 100 episodes with me. So like,
Wow.
but you never want to feel like, oh come on, you gotta come on, you gotta come on, you know. And
Right, yeah.
like I loved having that dynamic. Like I had a trio, like me, Melissa, and my friend Waffles. Like we did almost like 100 episodes all together. But there eventually got to that point of like I've played all of them, and some of my friends have played a couple. They haven't played some of the more Japanese exclusive ones. Maybe people want to talk about that, getting those experiences, or maybe they're just kind of getting away. Maybe they'd want to play 14 instead, and I'm not going to be the kind of person of like, I never want this show to feel like someone else's job, because it never feels like a job to me, you know?
Right. Yeah. I'm in the same kind of boat. I don't ever want it to feel like a job or something. I just, I guess the biggest thing I keep in mind is just, like, make stuff that's unique and keep doing, like, the games that nobody's really talking about. And then from there, it's just like, I don't really know, I guess. It's kind of still, I'm still sort of getting used to the fact that people watch my stuff, even though it's been since June. Like, I didn't ever expect it to happen. It took a couple months for things to start really getting traction. So I've kind of just been taking like community requests, and I don't know if those will ever dry up, but when they do, like I'm not trying to say I'm like talking about quitting or something, but like I don't want to just kind of like keep dragging it out. Like I think what I'm doing is something cool, and I want to like ride that out until it's done, and then kind of just like end it there. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, like that's why I had this like weird thing of like I love collaborating, but whether it be because of like my presence online or whatever, I almost like never get asked to collab on like whether it be people's videos or guests on shows and stuff like that. It's very, very, very rare. Like I'm always open to it and stuff, but one of the things about it of like I kind of wanted to fill that hole, because sometimes like the last year I mentioned I've been doing the show every week, assuming I'm not like dying of COVID. Oh, fun fact! I don't know if I ever like said this on the show. I literally got coronavirus the day the Strikers trailer leaked. I remember because I did
Holy
like
shit, you had it.
I
That's
did
rough.
like a 4-hour reaction live stream because that was like the first re-upload of that trailer.
Yeah.
I posted that trailer, and I remember I just had like a reaction stream going, and that entire stream I felt like total shit, but I was thinking, oh, it's like midnight and I'm like screaming. That's probably why. And then over the next couple of days, I just became worse and worse and worse. And so did like my wife and stuff. And we just would be like, man, I hate that I know the exact moment I got it was for this game I've been covering, like
For
in wanting my
Strikers, yeah.
like literally the day
That's rough.
the day the announcement trailer I've been waiting months for finally happens is when I get fucking horrifyingly sick.
That's terrible.
So, oh my god. But yeah, like, so one of the things in terms of like spacing that out, because like I've wanted to do more stuff like creatively outside of just doing the podcast, because like it's very easy to do a podcast in terms of production and editing. I definitely go into autopilot mode in terms of like I can get this uploaded and done within like 6 hours. But
Yeah.
wanting to have more like editorial stuff, and so that's why I've been trying to do at least like once a week, having like a video talking about something that wouldn't make sense for like a big full on thing. So like not a review. Like I've done reviews whether they be like 30 minutes to like an hour or different things like that. And the editorials have been kind of fun of like similar to like looking at your channel, like how your 9 videos like a minute long. Like taking, instead of doing like a 20 to 13 minute video, doing like a 4 to 5 minute video, you know?
It mixes it up a little bit. People like that. I think people really like the long format, but then if you can fit in something in there that's a little shorter, I think that really does help you out. And I'm trying to get better with doing that, because I think my content used to be a little bit more versatile before I realized that people wanted to see reviews. I would do almost anything. I had like the 9 video mixed in with reviews. I had a Megami Tensei 1 little like 2-minute video. And I want to try to get back into that, but I got to figure out, that's kind of like the problem I think I'm facing. Not really a problem, but it's like, how could I mix it up besides just doing experience videos? Because I really like doing those, but they take months to make sometimes, depending on the scope of the project. Like SMT1, every version it's gonna take a while. There's just no way around it because I got to play the game like 6 times. So I'm thinking about like how can I mix it up a little bit. So yeah, like different content, like you were saying, like editorials and stuff. I'd have to try to find something that's also filling a niche. And I was thinking like an idea I had was like there's like the Devil Summoner TV show and there's like the Tokyo Revelations OVA. So there's some stuff out there. I'm thinking about that.
A lot of bad manga. A lot of bad manga and anime. You can
Manga,
talk about.
yeah. Yeah, true.
What? I don't know if this is like an insult thing, but like when you were referring to your experience videos, I've actually never thought of them like this, unless like you've specifically said them as such in the video. So apologies if I'm like horribly wrong. I've never actually watched them with the like. I've never felt like they were a formal or even like an informal review. It always felt to me like learning about the game with you. And like it had it has your opinion in it for sure, but like for me it always is kind of one of those things of like I feel like I'm going through the Wikipedia page with you and then we're playing the demo. Like that's what that's what the videos kind of feel like with me.
I like that it feels like that to people. I think I just say review is sort of like I'm speaking broadly. Like I don't really know what to call my videos because and somebody else brought this up to me before and it might have been Dad where it's like I do sort of give opinions and talk about it, and at the end of the game, I do tend to say like, okay, well, here's how I'd rate it. But at the same time, you know, I just kind of like go through the story. I try to do like tips and tricks and stuff like that. So I just call them reviews, but I don't really know what you'd even call them. I guess.
Well,
you're just experience, right? Yeah.
You're at least not like doing that thing of like. Because I hate when you look at a review and the review just feels like you're reading a Wikipedia page of like here's the like when someone's review involves you telling me the story and that's your opinion, I want to like put my head in the oven and close the door really hard. Like I hate those reviews, and obviously like I'm really biased because like I have also been writing like for whether it be like myself or like video game websites. Like I've been trying in a very probably unsuccessful manner to like cover video games in different fashions for so long. Like a boring review is very similar to like a boring video, you know? And I know my videos have dog shit production value, even if you want to put the word production value into any of them. But my biggest takeaway when I'm doing like my like editorial videos is I want at least someone watching this video to go, huh, at some point. Whether it be, holy shit, I didn't know that, or, oh, that's interesting, or like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, different, like, little weird things like that of, like, a good example, I could just put, like, when I did my, like, Best Buy Steelbook video for Strikers, I could have just made a 3-minute video that says, oh, hey, it's North America exclusive, but only in America and no international shipping, and it's going to be a huge pain in the butt. Whereas instead, I can be like, well, I've talked to the people who made the Steelbook. Here's what happened. Here's why it is this way. It's not going to change because this only happened because of this, and here's a history, and blah, 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 which is probably like an overly long explanation of stuff, but also I'm the kind of guy who would answer like a 3-minute... Like, I'm the kind of guy who on a dating profile fills out way too much. Like, 100% way too much.
No, I feel that. It's like, I think when I do the review, or I call them reviews, I'll just say that. I'll stick with review.
It's better in conversation for you to call it a review. If you refer to your videos yourself as, when I'm doing the experience.
The experience. It sounds kind of weird. It's like, I don't know. But I try to write it as if I write it as if, like, the way I'm talking. So it's like, what I want people to do is get interested in it. What I'm trying to say is like for the phone game video, Megami Tensei Mobile, there's people that are probably interested in that, but I don't think it's inherently something that's like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna watch a 15-minute video of this guy talking about a Java mobile phone game. So I try to keep it like, it's not acting, but it's sort of like I pretend somebody's sitting there and I'm trying to like keep them engaged in it.
Like for your Java like video, I'm assuming with the analytics, like I
was thinking about that the other day, where it's like it's not. What's up?
Oh no! I think I was either cutting out and you were going. You go on with your thought, and then I'll ask the question.
Yeah, it was just a rephrasing basically. It was like it's not in character, but it's almost like pretending, I guess, that I'm talking to somebody like in person.
Oh yeah, 100%. But like going into like even the cell phone version of SMT1, like Sorry, not SMT1, but like with the Java game, I'm sure your analytics were like. I bet a lot of people, after that quick history and checking out the gameplay, like the average watch time in that 15-minute video is probably like 4 to 6 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's like 6 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things of like there are those people who are going to sit there and like check out the whole thing, and then there are those people who are like, huh, didn't know that was a game, and then you go. Like I forget this guy's name. I am subscribed to him. His whole channel is literally like checking out like weird either PS2 and Wii ports or weird Flash and Java games that like you never would have like known about and seen. Like, and I love stuff like that. And his videos are all way longer than they have any right to be, but like. At the same time, I bet a large amount of why he gets so many views is because someone's looking at his thumbnail and be like, The Witcher 3's on Java phones? Let's check this out for 2 minutes.
Yeah. I think that's pretty cool, is to just not even to have people watch the whole video or necessarily make people say, like, oh, huh, didn't know that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, I cannot believe that we're somehow past the 2-hour mark, so I think before we get into questions... I want to ask you, just because wrap up our little like YouTube question talk. Do you ever see yourself like? Imagine like, let's say some kid in like a Make-A-Wish Foundation came up to you and was like, "Hey, Marsh, I really want you to do an experience video as a collab. Like, how would you like make that work if you could? Like, if you had to think of like, okay, I need to make an experience video that's like a collab with someone." Like, how would you probably go about that if you, like, gun to your head, had to make it happen?
Actually, I sort of have that in mind. I want to do a video where it's, like, for Imagine, and it's an MMO, so the whole point is you play it with people. And I don't know how I want to do it yet, but I want to focus on, like, the interactions I have with people, because that's the point of an MMO, or an MMO, sorry. Instead of, like, the mechanics, like, I'll explain that stuff, but I wanted to try to have it focused more on, like, kind of like the stories that generate themselves as you're playing it with people. But it's a good question, because I've been thinking about that too. Like, how would you do that? And I don't know yet, but I think I'd try to have like, I don't know if it'd be like recordings of like live kind of like gameplay, like unedited, or if I'd try to like actually talk to someone almost like in a podcast like this and try to gear it towards like how I normally do them, where we're like cracking jokes and stuff like that. But yeah, I have thought about that.
Well, I mean, you also stream as well. Like, have you been streaming for very long?
I streamed maybe 2 weeks so far, and I only do it every once in a while. So I'm new to that, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. That could be an option for Imagine, honestly. I could just stream it and see with a group of people and see like what happens.
It'd be like those videos you see of like, I love the... Have you ever seen like those videos of like online games or MMOs the hour before they get shut down? It's just it's just like it's like one giant depression community hall of like everyone.
Yeah, that'd
like
be crazy.
Like for the video, it would just be like everyone in the main lobby area, and you all are like forming a circle or pentagram, talking to each other about the game.
That'd be so funny. Yeah, I think it'd just be a really weird thing to do, because my only experience with Imagine was like on that Chinese like private server, but now that there's Reimagine or whatever, it's like a lot more established. So I bet there's a lot of interesting people you could talk to that are like more regular to it than I am. I don't know. I want to try to like make it almost like a video with like a narrative where other people are teaching me about the game instead of it being sort of like a just reading off the wiki sort of deal. It's been something on my mind for like.
Well, and you're in a weird case too, because it's like your video wouldn't be about Imagine. Reimagine still takes some liberties with the game. Like, obviously it's the same core pieces, but like you'd be coming at it with no nostalgia. Whereas like me, I literally played Imagine the US legit version for like 6 months before it got canned. Of like,
yeah, I have like no context for it at all, so it'd be kind of weird. But I guess I'd try to capture like whether or not it's worth going back to, and I guess sort of like what it might have been like if you used to play it. But yeah, I definitely didn't play when it first came out.
And the moral of the story is, how much longer is your channel going to be around without you talking about all of the really, really shitty Persona 3 phone games? That's my real question.
I love to do those, yeah. As long as I could find a ROM, or if possible, I could do like just download some gameplay, because it's out there. But I'd love to talk about those for sure. People really seemed interested in that Megami Tensei one, so I'd be down to do it again.
Well, the story behind the Megami Tensei one is so cool too. Of like, we literally didn't even have proof of it existing until that like auction, like what, 3 months ago.
Yeah, it was recent. Yeah.
And like some dude like on like Twitter or whatever like found out on like a random like auction place for it, like, hey, it's really overpriced, but it's the only phone and I could dump it for it. And everyone's like, should I do it? And they're like, of course they're gonna say do it. A, it's not our money, and B, we're gonna play it for free. So yes, please do it.
Yeah, please do.
Still waiting for someone to dump the really, really, really terrible VCast version of Kingdom Hearts. I have way too many fond memories of playing.
Really, that sounds crazy too. There's so many of those phone games out there that look so interesting, but it's just like I don't know how you'd even get those. Hopefully someone has it and they do it.
I don't know. That was one of those weird ones of I don't think it actually was in Java either. It was like a mobile platform exclusive. It was like only on Verizon phones, so it was like even more segmented than
Oh
that.
wow.
But it's one of those fun ones of like, especially because like I grew up playing that on like my dad's phone at the time of like I have memories of playing this game that like for the longest time people had like literally 50 by 50 pixel videos and screenshots of, because there was just no good way to get direct capture.
There's no other way. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, there's like a realistic monkey and a coconut and a beach, and I think that was one level.
It's like the only proof you have in the entire game.
Yeah, like describing it is just a fever dream of like, and I mean, I could see the exact same thing of like, if you describe to someone, well, okay, the Megami Tensei game is a little bit tougher because people have to remember in Japan they were getting those phone ports of games for a really long time. Like there are like even there are Metal Gear Solid Japanese phone games that were exclusive over there in like the early 2000s. Like same with like Resident Evil and stuff. Like there were these series of like phone games were always such a big thing in Japan. Just because they didn't come out over here didn't mean they weren't a thing. And like,
Right.
oh my god, I think like the last big phone game that wasn't like a iOS or Android game I can always think of is when they announced like the 3 Kingdom Hearts games after Kingdom Hearts 2. It was the DS one, the PSP one, and the phone one only in Japan. And Coded was only on phones for like years. I remember as like a child, I was like in high school at the time, I was like, can I save up to buy like a Docomo phone? Like, would it work? Could I play
Just
it?
to play the game. Yeah.
It was like, I don't know what I have to do to play this, but it's canon, and I know I'm missing out. And then thank God I never did that, because that was like the worst version of that game to play.
Yeah. I'd do anything to play that, like the Hazama phone game.
Oh my
anything,
god,
man.
yeah. And just like imagine like obviously like we have stuff like the Game Gear Mini came out where we have like, oh cool, there's like Last Bible on a terrible controller and terrible screen. Like that's cool for
Right.
novelty, but like imagine if like Sega put out for like $40 the Megami Tensei mobile game collection, and it is just a legit like 2006 flip phone where you can just play these games, and it's just a portable battery pack, and you still have to play with like the number pad.
It'd be so cool. I'd buy it.
I hope there's
For sure.
I hope there's nostalgia for flip phones. I can't be the only one who sees like pictures of the old Motorola Razr and go like, yeah, man, this fucks.
I have nostalgia of those too, and I'm a lot younger than you, I would imagine. So I remember seeing them around when I was a kid.
I was born in '93. I can't imagine you're that much younger than me. When were you born?
I was born in 2000.
Oh my god! Okay,
Yeah.
I have this horrible problem of once I graduated high school in 2012, time stopped being relevant for me. So in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, I was in high school a couple years ago. I'm not that old. And then I realize,
Right.
I realize I'm 27, and I'm like, holy fucking shit. What have I done with my life? I look at my like 6 3DSs and 3 Vita collection and be like, oh god.
There's nothing wrong with that, I guess.
It's okay.
It's starting to happen to me too.
I
haven't even been graduated for that long.
I did the hard part of finding a woman who could stand being next to me, let alone the hard part of listening to me. Because I remember for the longest time, like when girls were aware I podcasted, they were like, whatever, I don't really care. But I remember when I met Mary, one of the funniest things was she would listen to my podcast because it was a way of hearing me if we couldn't talk on the phone. Not because she liked listening to them and like learning about it, because she would literally, the sound of my voice of the podcast would bore her to sleep so fast it would get her to sleep really quickly. So I'm like, hey man,
That's crazy.
I'm like, hey, that's a good medium. That's a good like little like in between there.
Honestly, yeah.
And like that's like a good way of like how you want it, because like imagine if like you went on a date, you're vibing really good with this girl, and you tell her that you do videos, and then the next day you see her, she's watched all of your videos and seen every stream you ever did. You're like,
Yeah. I don't even know what I'd say.
Be like, so you know everything about me now, so I'm just gonna
You know everything.
that's like I'm sure that's like somebody's like fantasy, and I'm sure that's like happened sometime, but it's like I specifically remember talking about dating profiles, and I promise I'm going to answer questions after this. Literally on my OkCupid account, back when I was doing online dating, on one of the questions they say that's like, say something interesting about yourself that people should know, and it says, please don't look at my Wikia page, because there is still a fan made SMTN Wikia out there, and there is one about me. And it was one of those things of like, if you got that far into my thing, you should just not look at that, because like if you saw that, it'd be like, what kind of fucking weird cult does this dude have?
Who is this?
It's like, why is the wiki's background just his face like tile image? It looks terrible.
That sounds crazy.
I will say one last very, very terrible thing. If you ever want to get in some weird fun shit, or at least like dumb April Fool's videos or quick ones, there's a whole heck of a lot of good. Put good with very light usage. A lot of GOOD games, like SMT fan games.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, I never thought about that.
And because I hate myself and my reputation, I'm going to send this to you.
Oh shit! Yeah, I'll check it out.
There is a Shin Megami Tensei Network fan game.
Really? Where is it? Where'd you send it?
I'm going to send it on Twitter, and just to show,
Okay.
like, I guess actually I could. Oh no, don't do links in the YouTube chat. That's always like the worst way to like pull a link off. I'll send it to you private. It is, and just apologize. I had no input in this. I had no direction in it. I didn't approve anything in it. It was just people who were fans of SMTN made this. And you can tell I didn't, because it is literally just called Spencer Megami Tensei, and I would definitely not come up with like the name is just about me with a terrible, terrible image of my face from like 9 years ago. But like someone made just a like full on ass RPG Maker SMT game that is just SMT inside jokes. And like the best part is like it is so off the rails with SMT like references and things that like should make sense of, like there's literally a secret ending where you can find Hideo Kojima, and it is
Oh my God.
it just kind of goes off the rails. It was one of those funny things of I had zero involvement for, so it was just so funny that it's like it's a thing out there in the ether that I had nothing to do with, but I'm very,
That's
very
crazy.
glad.
It's like the ultimate honor. You have your own game. That's crazy.
Oh my God! And in very classic SMT tradition, the sequel was being produced and never finished.
Oh shit! You hate to hear it.
I like to assume SMT2 will finally come out in English, and then that will motivate me to find that team once again and be like, you guys got to finish it now. If SMT,
You gotta make the next one. Yeah.
If SMT2 can come out, then that means this has to come out.
Has to. You're right.
Oh my God. All right, let us get to some questions. We're going to go to Twitter first. So we were asking Twitter and all the beautiful, handsome, wonderful people out there what they wanted to ask you or myself. So our first question comes from Chuga, comes from NME, who says, what happened to the Jonathan X Flynn video? Was this all in my head? I need answers.
All right. Yeah. So I kind of talked about this actually a little bit. A lot of my older videos were like shit posts. I got like Jonathan in Saints Row, like the politics video, all this crazy shit. And a lot of them just got copyright strikes, so I had to take them down, because YouTube, like, if you have those on your channel, they hate you. They don't want you to have people watch you anymore, so that's basically the simple answer, is just copyright. Yeah.
Okay. So sign up for the Marsh OnlyFans, and you can get those old videos back.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Orthodox Doge. Says, what are your expectations regarding SMT5?
I don't know. You want to go first?
Well, I've talked about it a lot. I think the quickie for me, I'm excited. I know that team is still shitting their bricks trying to make Unreal Engine run on the Switch without lighting it on fire. Like the big thing I always tell people that I don't think this conversation comes up enough with SMT5 is it is a game that is either going to look really, really great, but at the risk of a lot of concessions being made to what makes an SMT game special. So it's going to look great as it can on the Switch, but it's going to have limitations in the gameplay and fans will be bummed out. Or it'll be very, very true to its roots and not look like a modern enough game. Like, even SMT4 wasn't really a good-looking 3DS game. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's the
true.
best looking in the series, like, at those times with the standards, but there's still a whole lot of recycled sprites and assets.
Yeah. I don't know what my expectations. I mean, obviously, I hope it's good. I've watched the trailers and stuff, and I'm pretty excited for it. I guess I'd like to see maybe if you want to go with like theories or something. I've talked to some people about it being sort of like a reverse Nocturne, where it's like almost like a law tinted sort of Nocturne. I think it'd be cool to see like a different sort of take on alignments, like Nocturne did it. Is basically my answer.
That would definitely be like, and it is funny because like the comparisons with Nocturne, like it wasn't a coincidence that they announced Nocturne remastered with that last trailer. Like I feel like there has to be more connections to those games, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Persona Forever says, "What are some games you are looking forward to in 2021 that obviously is not SMT5?" They mentioned. I wasn't going to read them all out, but now because of the last one, I have to. Guilty Gear Strive, Little Nightmares 2, or Resident Evil MILF Village.
Oh yeah, I am excited for Resident Evil. I do want to try that. I've actually interesting. I've never played Resident Evil, but I want to start.
Oh,
so I might start with 8.
No,
I might start out with 8.
No,
Or is it a sequel?
You gotta start with 7. 8's literally a follow-up to
7.
7 is amazing. Like, do you like horror movies at all?
Yeah, and I played a lot of other horror like game, like Outlast. It looks kind of like Resident Evil 7 to me. Yeah.
No, it's definitely it's like its own bag, because I remember a lot of people were kind of nervous. 7 was like, oh, it's just like copying the PT train. 7 definitely does like its own thing. And the PC version like looks fucking great. I cannot recommend it enough. Like,
I'll have to check that out. For
7
sure.
is dirt cheap and is really, really good. If you, no, it's like I was gonna be like the best way to play it. Sadly, is PSVR. But like even just playing it normally is still great. But like that game in VR is like next level. Like I'm gonna like shit
really
my pants.
Scary.
It's
yeah.
the team like did a really great job with it. And like if you enjoy the vibe of 7, if you enjoy the vibe of 8, I think you'll enjoy it a lot more. Like knowing those characters. Like I know people like
Having
dunk
played 7,
like
yeah.
people dunk on Ethan because like lol he has like no face. But like literally like I love like the entire cast. Like even like weird not real Chris Redfield. Like everything about that game. Like the villains are great. Like the setting is awesome. It's just it's super cozy because it's a really small setting. It's like you are in a like small southern town. Not even small southern town. You're in a house. The whole game is in like someone's residential house. That's just the whole game.
It's really cool. I think for me, I would say this isn't even a new game necessarily. That Mass Effect like remastered or whatever. That looks sick. I love Mass Effect, so definitely gonna pick that up. I don't even know if it's this year, but I'm excited for it.
It comes out in May. Almost here.
It's May. Okay. Well, I'm gonna definitely get that because I played all those back to back like a few years ago, and I was like, this is awesome. I love this, and I didn't get to play all the DLCs and stuff, so having that like included is another reason to buy it.
So like, I love BioWare. This is a weird like kind of blind spot in my history. I've never touched Mass Effect ever. I've never played.
Really,
it.
It's really fun.
And I'm like, I think it's funny that people are looking at the Mass Effect collection and be like, I don't know, man, $60 seems like a lot. I'm like, aren't like all 3 of these games like at least 30 to 50 hours long? Like it seems like a lot of games.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, I don't know if I'll pick it up.
The graphics are all brought up, so it's like one long game.
Yeah, like I don't know if I'll pick it up at launch, but it's definitely one of those games like I'd like to pick up like down the line. Because I remember with Dragon Age, I got into Dragon Age by the time like the like expansion and like Game of the Year edition one was out. So like I could see that like being a really good like pick it up for like $20 or $30 on Black Friday this year kind of game, just because like literally Resident Evil comes out a week before in May. So like not that I won't be done with it, and also I'm in this weird spot of like now that I have a PS5, I say now as if it didn't come out like 3 months ago, but you know what I mean. But like since the PS5's been
Yeah.
out, I've noticed I'm a lot less inclined to just pick up random PS4 stuff unless I have a reason. So like,
Yeah.
because like there's that push of like, I enjoy like the experience is so much now better on that. Like if I'm not playing PS5 games or games kind of improved on it or just stuff that I want to like tick off for my backlog, I don't really have a reason. Because like, let's be honest, if I if I pick up fucking the Mass Effect collection and I'm sure I will get into it like I am, that's at least like 100 hours of my life gone.
Oh yeah, it's a long game. There's a lot of stuff you can do. So I think it's easy worth $60 just for that because there's so much gameplay. Yeah.
Any other games that kind of stick out with you, like third party ones you're looking forward to this year?
You know what? Not really, because ever since I was stuck at home, like my life's been dominated by like old Megaten, so I've been like not looking at new shit that much at all. But Mass Effect, Resident Evil, I'm trying to think. I guess Strikers, but we already know about that. That's probably it, honestly.
I'm very curious now that you've like told me you're actually a Dynasty Warriors fan. I'm really curious to see what you think of the game, just because I think a lot of the conversation that's been around it before launch has been super weird, and I'm actually still really like kind of in a weird mood about the game in general, just because I kind of hate that no matter what the reception is, positive or negative in the fandom, it's going to kind of be fucked up. And what I mean by that is people are going to be getting that game legitimately on Friday if you bought the digital deluxe
Yeah.
edition. But for all the other people out there like me who want to play the physical version, we'll have to wait like 4 more days. And so then you're just going to see
Yeah.
waves of people. Okay, well, I'm sure a large amount of people will beat the game before its official release date on next Tuesday, you know?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Oh
So,
yeah.
like, I feel like it's just gonna throw a monkey's wrench in, like, the hype wagon of, like, half the internet's gonna be like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, and the other half are gonna be like, la 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 la, I can't hear you, shut up, shut up, shut up. And, like, that's, like, why I kind of, like, hate that Atlus did this finally. Of like, that was always, like, my least favorite, give us more money edition was the digital only play it early. Like if they had just made a like
Yeah.
physical version, everyone would have shut up. No one would have complained about it. But because it's digital only, like it just shows it as nothing more as we want to make more money this way. So there you go.
Yeah, 10 more bucks, and it's just like you play it a little bit early, and it's what like the music or something, legacy music. I don't know. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, you get the like you get the legacy music pack, which at the very least is cool because Koei Tecmo like did push for that. Like that DLC pack was their idea of they wanted to be able to play Persona. Like they'd even like said they wanted to play with Revelation soundtrack and like PSP Eternal Punishment soundtrack like in the same game. Like that's just something Atlus themselves would not have done. But like that's a cool thing in there.
Cool.
But then the other
Oh,
half
yeah.
of it is like Atlus made a exclusive DLC pack on the West that just makes it easier. And it's like, why would you throw off the game's balance with a shitty DLC pack? Like, I told people in my last video, I'm like, hey, even if you have the digital deluxe edition, don't use this DLC pack, please.
Right.
So, we got like 2 or 3 more questions in the Discord, and then we can wrap up and hopefully get more to drink than my like 3 sips of water left because I'm about to die.
Okay. Yeah. No problem.
All right, first question from the Discord comes from 481. Says, if SMT ever got a remake, which one would you want, and what would be more likely? So, in terms of SMT as a whole series, not just any of the mainline games, one gets remade. What do you want, and which one do you think is more likely?
Oh wow. Huh. Any game.
Yeah.
Well, that's I think Megami Tensei 2 deserves like a.
I love that. Like, if that did happen, it would just be like not the first one, but the sequel to the game you wouldn't get.
The second one's so good. Yeah, the
You're
second
not
one's really
wrong.
good, and there's
Yeah,
so
you're
much
not
in there.
wrong.
Like, it's like close to SMT1, and people would be more familiar with it. Because the first one's like a wizardry sort of like clone, but the second one's a little more distinct. And,
so weird
it's
question:
not likely at all for
why
me.
go for that and not the SNES one? That's both 1 and 2.
I think that one, I don't like how the graphics look in it. I think the NES graphics are actually better, and I think it messes up the music a lot too. So I'd like to see it like maybe brought into like Like I think it'd be perfect for 3DS, but 3DS is kind of dead, so like
Excuse
something
me,
else.
kind of dead?
It's very dead. I
Yeah,
love the 3DS. It's one of my favorite RPG systems. I have like
bro,
weird expectations for what I want. I want
bro, what is
3DS
what
ports
is the
still.
last 3DS game you bought?
I got Soul Hackers, but it wasn't new. It
No, I mean
was
like
like,
recently released game.
oh, Strange Journey Redux.
Wow, so you skipped on PQ?
I didn't get PQ2. I have the first PQ.
Okay, so literally after that released, there has been one other 3DS game that released. So there was PQ in the summer of 2019 on 3DS, and then there wasn't anything new on 3DS until this last summer in July 2020. And then there's been nothing. Like the system has been like
Yeah,
on coasting mode for like almost 3 years.
that's like my answer. If I could get anything I wanted, would be like a really old game remastered a little bit and like ported to 3DS. I just think it'd be really cool.
Is there like a modding scene in 3DS very much? Because like speaking of like kind of similar situations, like the Vita,
Yes.
even though Vita is still getting a lot of stuff of like I literally just saw today someone just ported Max Payne and Vice City to Vita, like not as like an emulation,
To
as like
Vita, really?
as native versions of like that's fucking
That's
awesome.
crazy. Yeah. I think it has a modding scene. I'm not sure though.
I mean, I know like everything Nintendo is just blown wide the hell open, but I appreciate the effort. Like MG2, just two over one. I love that I could see it too. It would make everyone so mad. Like they did two, but not the two they want, but not the first one of the one that is the sequel to that one.
Yeah.
And it's 3DS in like 2021 because extra fuck you, I guess.
It'd be so cool though.
That would definitely have to be like a one of those games that like finally comes out and everything's right, but the monkey's paw with it is it's like $50 and it's digital only.
Yeah, it'd be like the weirdest release ever, but I'd like it. I'd buy it.
Oh my god. For me, I'm trying to keep it realistic. I think we're limiting it to just one game. OG Devil Summoner, just literally run it through like the upres machine, throw an English translation on there, and just put it on like PC, Switch, Xbox, PS4, and that'll sell. Will it sell a lot? Hell no. Make it like a $10 downloadable thing?
Probably not.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick. That's probably a better answer. I'd love that.
Next question comes from, and I'm totally gonna blow this. Jagingus or Jagingus
Gigantic.
says, "What is better, Raito 1 or Raito 2?"
Shit, I've only played Raito 2, so I guess I'm gonna say Raito 2.
What? Why not 1? How was it? Because it was $20 on clearance? How did this happen?
It was $20 on clearance, and when I realized that Raito was hard to find, it was too late, and Raito 1's hard to... It's like expensive, you know, so I can't get it now.
What do you classify as expensive? I've got to know this. By the way, my answer is Raito 2, and only for the joke answer of his hat is bigger in 2 than 1, and I found that out recently, and I find it really funny.
I guess expensive to me would be like $70, because I'm a college student, so I don't really have money. You know what I'm saying?
Sir, I want you to know I made a very poor adult like financial decision recently. And I'm justifying it as I am a big collector, and I'm 99% sure it's like the rarest Megaten game ever, like in all territories. I bought this for I think it was like $150, and it is just
Yeah.
it is a game from like the last literally less than 10 years ago.
I couldn't spend that much at this point in my life. I couldn't do it.
The only reason I justified it is because it's a game I love. Hilariously, I didn't have this specific version of it, and the specific version behind it is so stupidly rare. I had to get it, and I'm glad I finally was able to pull the trigger on it, but I cannot wait to finally do the video on this. So I can say, I will tell you once we're off the show, but it's one of those things I've been talking about for like a couple of months, but I keep telling people, until I have it in my hands and the video is done, I'm not going to do it, because even though I know remember I've said I'm aggressively unpopular online. As soon as I do this video, a lot of people are going to be like, fuck, I don't have it. Like, a good example is, I don't know how often you talk to LaRue, but you know, like, LaRue has a lot of really obscure shit.
Oh, yeah.
LaRue doesn't even have this. Like, this is like, nobody I know has this.
Shit. Okay, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, so that'll be like a really fun one to do, just because anything that like melds like my love of video game collecting and like Atlus stuff is very very rare, and most of the time the rare stuff is like merchandise, which like I like steelbooks, but like for the most part, most Atlus merch I can like throw in a fire. I'm like, I'm good. I don't need figures. I don't need like anything like
Right.
that cool. But like that's why I like steelbooks. Of like I can like I enjoy like a good example is like I didn't buy Nocturne when it came out in Japan, like Nocturne remastered. I bought that steelbook though. That steelbook's like the fucking like most
It
shiny
does look
gold
really
like
nice.
great thing I've
Yeah.
ever seen. I was like, this will be great, literally because I know that steelbook is not coming out in America.
Yeah, I guess you gotta get it right.
Last question comes from, and this one was asked beforehand, but is very dedicated. SSJ Tarful says, this may be a weird question, but I'm curious your opinions regarding this. With the Persona 5 manga on the path to adapt Royal, so I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Marsh, but the current ongoing manga for Persona 5 is not even done in Japan, and it's been going since the launch of P5 in 2016, and it's been
Oh
going
wow.
so slow because it's like on a monthly chapter basis. And like I think in Japan right now they just finished Futaba's Palace,
Oh
and
man.
but what's been cool about this, and goes back to like how like manga adaptations sometimes like can be the best version and people just don't know it. The manga right now is actually adding in characters from Royal. So they added in Kasumi, they've added in Maruki. Like they're adding in like other elements and stuff to it because it's like, well, there's nothing saying
Yeah.
they can't be there. And I'm like, man, if you can just make a like all killer no filler version of Royal in a book form, like you gotta fucking winner. So I just had to give a little bit of context there because I know not a lot of people read the manga, but please, even if you only kind of like Persona 5, the manga is like the best adaptation version of it. It's better than the anime. It's kind of better than the game at some points. It's not perfect, but it's really, really good and a lot cheaper than buying a $300 Blu-ray set.
Shit. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I didn't know about that. It's interesting. Yeah, I'll be sure.
So, going on to the question, do you think that this will... Sorry, do you think that they will then go on to adapt Strikers into a manga once they reach that point? Oh, wow, that would be extra, like, Galaxy Brain moment. Like, he's going so slow through all of it, by the time he finishes Royal, he could just keep it going and do Strike. Wow, okay, I see why you double posted this question now, SJ. This question's an onion, it has layers. Do you think that they will then adapt Strikers into the manga once they reach that point? I know this is... Remember, the manga started 5 years ago. Sorry, 4.5 years ago now. We're after Futaba. So
It's
like,
gonna be years.
it'll be like a magnum opus. But I'm feeling the question. I think that it would make sense as it is still Persona 5, and the manga is taking its own time and coming to its release. So by the time they finish Royal stuff, they could continue releasing things under the P5 manga banner. I personally think it would be cool and to have this all under one banner, but I just don't know what the chances are of something like this happening. So first, I want to get your thoughts, and then I might gush for a little bit, just because I feel like I had like one of those Tim and Eric Galaxy Brain moments.
I don't know if I'm as qualified to answer a question like this, but do I think they'd adapt Strikers? Yeah, because isn't there like a PQ manga, and there might even be a dancing one, right? And I know there's an arena one, so I feel like they'd do it somehow.
There's not one but two PQ mangas. This is like they were so weird about this. They did a PQ manga for the Persona 4 version and the Persona 3 version.
Yeah, see, so I feel like for sure they'd adapt it somehow.
But like I love though what SSJ Tarful is like talking about with it of making it one story of like I don't know are you much into Yu-Gi-Oh?
I'm not, but
So,
I grew up like having the cards, but no, I'm not into like the story at all.
okay, so like I'm sure at least through memes you're at least aware enough of like Yugi, Exodia, like Dualistic Kingdom, Fighting Kaiba, like dumb like stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
the manga where it all started is a continuation of the entire anime series, just split up in different ways. But it is like even though they changed the name of through like regular just Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh Duelist, Yu-Gi-Oh Pharaoh Kingdom or whatever, it's still the same story. And I think it'd actually be pretty cool of like not. I don't think. I think if they just kept the manga volume count, that would like actually be pretty cool. Of just having this grand epic of like. Then just think about it. When you're all done, you can just have this series of maybe like 25 to 30 manga volumes, and it's like, hey, yes, this is really long and expensive, but like it's just literally the entire story of this character's like in
Yeah,
like
that'd
book
be cool.
form. Like I don't think that's ever really been done before. That's like, oh my god, like the only thing like more like next level like stupid that, and this would never happen, but like imagine if there was a Final Fantasy VII manga and it goes from starts at Crisis Core, OG7, Advent Children, and then it continues into Remake, and it's all just like one series.
It'd be the craziest thing ever.
We're like, well, we're at volume 100, and we literally just finished the movie.
Just yeah.
It's like I was always amazed they never tried to do any like manga adaptations for Metal Gear Solid. There was a comic adaptation that has like amazing art, but like it always felt like you were looking at like concept art sketches. Like it was really good, but it was never like conclusive to the storytelling.
Right, I've seen that actually. They should do a manga because I think it'd be really interesting.
What would you want like the art to look like though? Because I'm assuming you probably wouldn't do the Ashley Wood art that they did in Peace Walker and Portable Ops, like the really like rough like shading. Like what kind of art style?
Yeah.
What art style could you use for something like Metal Gear 1 all the way up to Phantom Pain?
That's a tough question. I feel like you could almost like vary it depending on the game. Like you feel like Snake Eater would be something more like rough around the edges since he's like surviving and like in the jungle and stuff.
That's why Ashley Wood's art I thought felt so cool with it. Although I will say, I know not a lot of people like watch this. There is a motion comic for Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 done by Ashley Wood's art. It's based off the comics that it was taken in, but for the motion comics themselves, they're actually voice acted by all the in-game voice actors, and
that's cool.
That was the last time for a Konami project David Hayter was actually voiced as Snake to do the lines in Metal Gear Solid 2's motion comic. It was for the like 2012 Legacy Collection. It was like a really like out there like specific thing.
Oh wow.
And that was your Metal Gear fun fact for the night, everybody. That's how you know we're done. That's how you know we're done with questions. So, Marsh, thank you for somehow having me steal you for like 2.5 hours, and everyone in here for chat for watching so long.
Yeah, for sure. It's really fun. No problem.
You know what? Just because we are talking about weird manga stuff, and I saw Killamo mention this in the chat. So, Marsh, are you aware of the dumb Persona 5 manga A being really bad and how it released last year as part of a $300 Blu-ray set?
I'm aware that the Blu-ray set. Yeah, I remember that. People are going crazy about that one.
Did you see that today in the news, as we're recording this on the 15th, that a European version just got announced for a licensing deal, and they're going to be releasing part 1, so the first half of the anime, in March and part 2 in April. So get this, they are 2 really nice big collector boxes and stuff. In the West, we just got it as like one big set. It was basically like just 2 black Blu-ray cases and like a shitty sleeve. Yeah. Both of those collector's boxes is half of the prices of the US set. Just to put that, just to put that into like inflation costs of like, for $160 you can get 2 really nice CE sets for still a pretty bad anime, or you can get a worse designed case for $300 and it's from America.
That's stupid. What the heck?
That was it. That was everybody's that was everybody's news update for the day.
Fun fact of the day.
I feel like this entire show might have just been like nothing but me like ranting and rambling with like fun facts. So apologies if that's what it was, everybody. Marsh, thank you so much.
It was good.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was a blast getting to talk to you in not Twitter form.
Of course, yeah, a lot of fun. Be down to do it again if you want.
So, where can people find you if they're looking either A, for an experience, or B, just to follow you on online?
Experience, I guess it's like youtube.com/MarshSMT, same as the Twitter too, at MarshSMT.
Unfortunately, we messed up on the Twitch, and it's SMT March on Twitch. I don't know what happened there.
That's okay, no problem.
that was the one thing that while looking for you is like, so wait, is it SMT first or is it SMT after? And then when I saw it was both, I was like, okay, we're just gonna call him Marsh. Actually, this should be the real last question. I'm sorry I didn't ask this. Where did Marsh come from? Where's the name Marsh from?
Shit, this is a deep story. All
As
right.
it should be.
When I was like really young, I liked to read game guides off of like different website, like IGN.com or something like that, like little walkthroughs. And I was like, there was a guy that wrote like Ocarina of Time, like all these old N64 classic, and I didn't know how to play those games, so I'd read his guides. Anyway, his name was Marshmallow, so I stole that name when I finally got the internet. And I was playing a game where the character limit was 5, so it got cut down to Marsh, and I just kept that forever. That's been my name forever. So that's a weird story.
That's awesome, though, man. I mean, hey, you're talking to a guy who's been using Torchwood 4SP for, like, almost 2 decades. I understand. That's awesome,
It's a weird origin story, but yeah, it's a good memory. I used to read game guides, like, all the time, so maybe you can see that when I make the videos. It kind of rubs off on me.
You need to track down who the OG Marshmallow was, just to like
who that guy is.
Give him credit.
Yeah. I should. I want to. I'd love to talk to him.
That's really cool though, man. That's a good origin story. No tragic background. No one died after that name.
Nobody died. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys would like to come and watch these podcasts live, you can check out my YouTube channel by just searching Shin Megami Tensei Network or Spencer Presley. The description below will have that link there, along with where to find our Discord. You can join the Facebook group by going to facebook.com/groups/SMT Network. There's also a page there if you are afraid of human interaction and want to share things to people. You can follow us on Twitter at SMT Network. You can follow my personal Twitter, which is at Torchwood4SP. Rate and review us on iTunes and Google Play Store and Spotify or wherever podcasts can be found. I think that is about it. Super big shout outs to all 4 of the Patreons who are supporting the show. If you would like to support the channel, you can go to patreon.com/SMTN. That's patreon.com/SMTN. So shout outs to Robert, Patrick. Oh my god, my brain. I'm doing this without looking. I know there's Mirth, and there is. I'm gonna blow this up, and then I'm gonna feel bad because this person donated to me. But we're doing this live, and it's been 3 hours, so I'm gonna say an extra big sorry to my favorite patron and friend. His name is Steven! Yay, Steven, thank you so much. Please, if you made it this long into the show, just remember I'm very tired and it's literally -8 degrees outside in Kansas. I'm very close to dying. So if you would like for me to forget your name off the top of my head, you can go support me there for any level you feel. Whatever you feel that was worth it. Just put that out there, everybody. That is the show. Thank you all once again so much. This is where we say goodbye. Thank you all for watching this live or edited, however you're listening to this. And, have a good one out there. And, let's see. So, we'll be back next week. Next week will be Strikers Day. Enjoy Strikers if you're playing it Friday. Also know you're part of the problem. And all of us getting the Steelbook on Tuesday at Best Buy will be enjoying it more. Also, if you're international, I'm sorry, you're not getting the Steelbook. So goodbye, everybody.
See ya.
And then that's the ending of the edited one. And then now I'm going to see, because I was very bad about chat. Hello and goodbye to Brendan, Killermo, SSJ Tarful, Cross Run Run, Smooth Boy 06, Jose P, Killermo, Abed, Cherry, Melonic Max, Macca. Oh my god, I don't think Mac has ever popped on one of these. King Narakami 45, Potato Activist. Nope, that's just his name, Potato Activist. Sheba Master. I love Sheba Master at the 2-hour mark, so this is a long one. Or was it 3 hours? Demi Crow, David Cass, Mako Tensei, Gideon West, Faz. Oh, you beautiful bastard being here. Thanos Man. Vincenti. Trying not to repeat anyone's names. Chugga. I think that's about it. Alex McKenzie, Board Choco. I think we got it. Jack Frost. Almost forgot Jack Frost. Can't do that. Thank you, Jack Frost. Thank you, Khalil. Thank you, everybody. That's it. Thank you all so much. I'm going to end the YouTube thing now so me and Marsh can talk about secret Illuminati. No, not Illuminati. Why am I freighting the Metal Gear one? We're going to talk Patriot business. So we got to go.
Patriots. Yeah.
Goodbye, live chat.
See ya.
I gotta be very